This CNBC program is sponsored by...
There are plenty of parties over the festive period. They'll have food and drink, music too. Some will even have rides and fireworks. But one has all that, plus a big something extra. Big Game 12 is London's biggest rugby party. To watch Harlequins take on Leicester Tigers from just £17 a ticket for children and £27 for adults, go to tickets.quins.co.uk or search Big Game 12. Kick-off 4:30pm, Saturday 28th of December, Twickenham Stadium.
Cold Monday mornings like this are cruel. You cough, you splutter, so does your car. Its battery dead, killed by an icy claw. Will anyone stand up to winter? Yes, you. Come to Halfords. We fit new batteries on the spot from just £15, and we're open late 7 days a week. See halfords.com for opening hours. Here in Wandsworth. Ready for the cold snap? Ready for anything. Halfords, for life's journeys.
Batteries sold separately. Selected vehicles only in most stores.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10pm on Friday the 15th of November to 5am on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
The world is a noisy place, but whether I'm here or here, my phone calls are always loud and clear on my Doro 6620. Hi, love. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm 10 minutes away. Get your Doro 6620 from Amazon, Tesco, and O2 today.
Welcome back, everybody. The second annual East Tech West Conference being held in Guangzhou, China. It's bringing together some of the world's most influential technology leaders. And our Deidre Bosa is there. She talked to some of those leaders. Deidre, what'd you find out?
Hey, good morning from Guangzhou. Becky, well, like last year, the trade wars are hanging over the event. This year, though, companies and investors are trying to figure out what are the long-term effects on the technology landscape. Huawei, of course, has been caught in the middle, and its business outside of China has been hit by the U.S. export ban. So has there been any progress in communication with the U.S. government? Well, its chairman, who is a keynote at this event here, he said no.
Actually not. Huawei has not received any communication from any U.S. entities, and we don't have channel to talk to them either.
Now, for now, the company relies on U.S. technology, particularly Google's Android operating system, though the chairman said that they are developing their own Harmony operating system, and they give people an update in just a few days. Now, American companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, of course, they are still shut out of the Chinese markets, but for the few companies that are still operating here, like Microsoft, business is booming.
First of all, we help a Chinese company do business abroad. This is one of the biggest streams of activity. And very interesting enough, we also see a lot more companies coming to China and doing business with us.
Lastly, guys, IPOs are a big topic here at the event, and it's hard to ignore that just 50 miles away from here in Hong Kong, the unrest continues as Alibaba is getting ready for its dual listing. A person familiar with the IPO tells me that the company is not going to be holding a typical investor luncheon that is a hallmark of many Hong Kong listings, though they say that that has more to do with Alibaba being a well-known entity already than it does the unrest. Back over to you guys.
All right, Deidre, thank you very much. Deidre Bosa.
Okay, coming up when we return, a potential reprieve for e-cigarette companies. Reports saying that President Trump is now backing away from a ban on flavored products. We're going to tell you why next.
It's hard to find a children's gift which doesn't have a short shelf life. They'll eat all the chocolates in 5 minutes, finish their video games by the end of the week, and grow out of their trainers before you know it. So instead of buying them something just for Christmas, buy them something that's for life. Premium bonds from NS&I. Every month they'll have the chance to win cash prizes. And now you can buy premium bonds for any child. Start their savings journey from just £25. Search Gift Premium Bonds to find out more.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
At Amazon this Christmas, you'll find loads of gifting ideas for everyone. You can get the Dell XPS touchscreen laptop, Philips Lumia Prestige IPL, and the Fitbit Versa 2 smartwatch. All with low prices and free UK delivery on eligible orders over £20. So there'll be more, and more.
Oh, how did you guess?
Amazon, delivering all you need this Christmas for less.
At TUI, we can help you find the perfect family holiday. And with flights from 20 UK airports, we make getting there a whole lot easier. Book now and choose from thousands of holidays under $399 per person, and spread the cost with £0 deposit when paying with direct debit. Book online or in-store with one of our travel experts. At TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Offer available on selected holidays for a limited time and subject to availability. Booking T's and C's apply. At or protected.
This Black Friday, save a massive 30% off Sky Superfast broadband, including anytime calls and guaranteed Wi-Fi in every room or money back. It's usually £42 a month, but now it's just £29 a month for 18 months plus £19.95 setup. So move sharpish. Offer ends 2nd of December. Search sky.com. Sky Fibre areas. Sky kit required. Refund on boost component £2 per month paid during current contract up to date of claim. Prices may change during contract. See sky.com/guarantee. Terms apply.
Equity futures at this hour are in the default mode. They're green again. It's been this way for about, I don't know, at least a month, I would think, where you come in the morning and it's at least it looks like it's going to perhaps be positive. There's been a couple of days where there's been red, but it's been mostly green. 42 points on the Dow Jones. The Nasdaq indicated up 16. S&P indicated up 3. Most of those would be new records. Multiple media reports say President Trump is backing away from proposed restrictions on the flavored e-cigarettes. The report says political advisors and lobbyists warned the president that a crackdown on vaping products could cost him key votes in battleground states. As a result, a news conference by the Health and Human Services Secretary for November 5th was canceled. President Trump tweeted last week that he would meet with industry representatives, medical professionals, and state representatives to come up with an acceptable solution to vaping and the e-cigarette dilemma.
Okay, the FAA is weighing how to approve planes for flight in the wake of two crashes involving the Boeing 737 MAX jet. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal at the International Air Show in Dubai, FAA Administrator Stephen Dixon said that the agency is considering ways to fundamentally alter how new planes are certified. Now, he said that that could include the FAA being involved in the design of the planes from the very beginning, and this would fundamentally upend and change the way this sort of self-certification, self-regulation has taken place over the last 20 years. There's been a real move within the United States. By the way, this is also true of what's taken place with regulators in Europe in terms of how a lot of these systems have been certified by the airlines themselves. If you get the FAA involved at the very beginning, it may very well be very helpful, but I can't imagine. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see whether Boeing or Airbus, if this were to take place in Europe, were to push back on this. And in terms of the leverage point at this particular moment, I actually think it's very difficult for Boeing to turn around and say, actually, you know what, we don't want that.
Would the FAA then have engineers and others on board who would be working for them instead of working for the companies?
And I don't know how they would do that.
Right.
And I don't know where the money would come from.
It would require more spending.
It would require more spending, and we have to figure out as a country what we want in terms of how much money we should be devoting towards this.
The head of the FAA had some pretty harsh words on Friday that made it sound like it may take longer than Boeing has suggested for the 737 MAX to get back up in the air. He just made it sound like we're going to go at this at our pace. Some of the software, the FAA is not even ready to start doing some of the software testing that is required for this at this point. So, the market may have gotten ahead of itself in terms of thinking that this is where the timeline's going to be.
Just in reading it in the way in, just the front page, because on the way in you can see on Twitter they have the whole front page of the journal.
Oh,
so
sure.
you get that out of the way on the way in. And reading it was like, it just sounded like almost like, of course they're saying this, of course they're saying that, of course, yeah, now we think we should spend more time with the pilots when there's a new system, training. You knew that was coming.
Right.
Just a lot of the things that were there, you knew were coming.
Right,
You knew after what was happening, just almost sounded like, yeah, it's just exactly what I expected.
Why did they not do it to begin with?
It's exactly what I expected the FAA
to say.
It didn't seem earth-shattering. I would have moved it. I don't know if I would have put it over here. You know what I mean? That's an important. Isn't this an important place?
It is. That's the lead
Isn't that where
story.
your column? Isn't that where your column usually goes?
You
On
only hope.
Tuesdays?
That's the Wall
Not
Street
in that
Journal
paper,
holding.
but yeah, sure.
Sure. No, it couldn't be.
That's the top column. That's
this one.
Yes.
Just reading it, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's okay. Expected that. And then
It's still newsworthy when it happens.
I guess.
All right, when we come back, Elizabeth Warren's tax plans could change the investment world. Robert Frank will join us to explain right after this. And later, Senator Rick Scott is joining us to talk about the escalation of violence in Hong Kong and the potential for a trade deal with China. Stay tuned. You're watching Squawk Box right here on CNBC.
Given cold Monday mornings like this are cruel. You cough, you splutter, so does your car. Its battery dead, killed by an icy claw. Will anyone stand up to winter? Yes, you. Come to Halfords. We fit new batteries on the spot from just £15, and we're open late 7 days a week. See halfords.com for opening hours. Here in Wandsworth. Ready for the cold snap? Ready for anything. Halfords, for life's journeys.
Batteries sold separately. Selected vehicles only in most stores.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring. If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
What if your email was organised by project and not by date? What if everyone looked at the same thing instead of their own inbox? Then it wouldn't be email at all. Forget your fragmented, jumbled inbox and make the change to channels in Slack. Spaces dedicated to individual projects, topics, or teams. All your communication is neatly organised and everyone is on the same page. Slack. Choose a better way to work. Get started at slack.com.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition. For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked bread to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our party time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our party time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Senator Warren's plans to tax the wealthy could change the investing landscape. Robert Frank is here. He's got more on how that might happen. Hi, Robert.
Good morning, Becky. Well, added together, Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax and all those healthcare taxes would bring the tax rates for many billionaires and multimillionaires to over 100%. Now, Warren is proposing two categories of taxes. There's the annual wealth tax on assets, and then the income taxes of up to 58% on investment returns. Add those together, and the two taxes could erase any annual gains for big investors. So if a billionaire invests $1 million and earns a 5% return, that's a gain of $50,000, he would pay a wealth tax on that million of 6%, and then income tax on the gain of 58% for combined taxes of $89,000 on a $50,000 gain, so well over 150%. Even a multimillionaire would lose most of their gains. Let's say someone's worth $50 million, they invest $1 million, they get a 5% return. They would pay combined taxes of $49,000 on the $50,000 gain. And of course, in California and New York, which tax capital gains the same as income, the combined federal and state taxes would be over 70% in addition to the wealth tax, so that would make it.
Is that even legal? They could tax you more than you've made if you look at all the different jurisdictions that are kind of claiming it?
I don't know that there's a law against that. Yeah.
Has she responded to any of, I don't know if you've reached out to her office?
We have.
And just, do they say to you, here's the explanation, in this circumstance it wouldn't happen that way? Or do they say, yes, this is exactly what would happen?
They sent him a mug.
They've never responded.
Did they send you a Billionaire Tears mug?
No. They
you have to
haven't sent
buy
me a
one.
mug yet.
And we can't buy one because it would be
that would be a political donation. But you could imagine, I mean, look, there are many broader concerns about this. You could imagine in terms of the investment landscape, if you have taxes that basically erase your gains above, below 6%.
Why would you invest?
Then, well, why would you invest, number one? And then if you did invest, you would be chasing such high yields
and high
that
risk.
you would push all of this money into the riskiest, highest returning assets, which could create a very unstable financial system as well.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about this. Joining us right now for more on the impact of Senator Warren's tax plan on investing, let's bring in our guest, Grover Norquist, American for Tax Reform President. Also, Jared Bernstein, who's the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities Senior Fellow and a CNBC contributor. Jared, let's have you defend this, the idea that you could tax and more than you've even earned on some of those investments.
Yeah, I think that's pretty tough to defend, actually. And I think that just like the arguments that if you cut investment taxes, you're going to get a big investment boom. We haven't seen that at all. In fact, investment has been uniquely weak in recent quarters, even after the Trump tax cuts on investment. On the other side of the coin, I'm not crazy about confiscatory tax rates at this level. But I think you're kind of missing the big picture here. I totally appreciate the reporting, and I think it needs to be done. But there's a lot of dissent, even within Democrats, about these levels of wealth taxation.
I think what's happening here and what Senator Warren has done is open up a really important part of the debate about how you'd actually be able to tax wealth if a Democrat won, particularly if she won the Senate. I think a lot of the ideas you're hearing today just are too heavy a political lift, given who the marginal vote will be, even if Democrats control the Senate. So there's a set of other ideas to tax wealth. They include mark-to-market. I made a list. They include mark-to-market taxation, closing the step-up basis loophole, getting rid of the pass-through loophole, raising the capital gains rate, fixing the estate tax, and strengthening IRS tax collection. That's the real agenda that this wealth tax has generated, and I'm happy to debate any one of those. I can defend them all. I think it's harder to defend a tax rate that's over 100% on wealth.
Hey, Grover, let's get into this. How would you like to come after this? If Jared doesn't even want to defend this, maybe we move on from this point and just admit that it's difficult to come up with some idea of saying that somebody's going to have to pay more than they made on a trade in taxes if that happens. But let's just talk about mark-to-market. What's the problem with mark-to-market, aside from the fact that it seems like a nearly impossible thing to try and keep up with?
Look, the whole idea of this wealth tax is misdirection. She's talking about a 6% wage tax to pay for her Medicare for All, which she thinks somebody other than you, as the wage earner, will pay. She loves to have us talking about this, Swedish, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Swedish, more than 100% tax rate. Sweden walked away from all of Elizabeth Warren's worldview, and they've done quite well by getting rid of their wealth tax and their death tax. They're doing well going away from Elizabeth Warren world. But this is to get you to not focus on the gasoline tax she wants, the energy tax, the carbon tax, which hits all middle-income Americans. All of the taxes she says she's going to hit rich people with destroy the value of your 401k and your IRA. 100 million 401ks, tens of millions of IRAs. Those are the people who are the collateral damage who get stepped on while she pretends to throw a punch, which we all agree isn't really going to happen, to rich people. She's going to tax the middle class, which is what Denmark and all of the European countries that have social welfare economies, they don't tax rich people much more than the United States. They gouge the middle class on higher income taxes and a value-added tax, which is simply a carbon tax on everything. She's trying to get you to not focus on her massive tax agenda on middle-income Americans. Well, and it won't work.
Let's say we both, it sounds like both of you agree with the idea that what she's proposing is not going to get passed. So, Grover, what about this idea that middle-class people will end up paying higher taxes under Elizabeth Warren?
She admitted it with her 6% wage tax, which she thinks somebody other than you will pay. That's a direct tax on middle-income people. The idea of taxing all energy is a gasoline tax on steroids, which hits your home heating oil as well as your gasoline, your car gasoline.
Jared,
so she has a massive tax hike on middle-income people.
That's all factually incorrect. I mean, interestingly, hold on. I didn't interrupt you, so please don't interrupt me. Interestingly, candidate Warren has bent herself into a tremendous pretzel in order to do exactly not what Grover was just talking about. And that's why this billionaire's tax, which was a 3% tax, became a 6% tax, because that's how she wants to pay partially for Medicare for All without hitting the middle class. And, that's kind of the situation that Democrat candidates are in. They want to pay for their ideas, but they're not going to tax the middle class, so they're going to go after those at the top of the scale. Now, I happen to think that's a perfectly reasonable place to go, because that's where so much of the pre-tax wealth has accumulated in this country.
But you also just said you don't think it's going to happen. I mean,
I don't think that's...
Do you feel a little uncomfortable defending this?
I don't think that's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen, and I noticed Grover completely evaded the question, is some really interesting, compelling ideas that I think have legislative legs if Democrats win. Mark-to-market taxation is something we've really not done in this country, and it's one of the reasons why most of the income that billionaires makes goes untaxed. Now, I think, Becky, said we can't do it, we don't know how to do it. Actually, given the electronic transactions in securities trading...
Jared, mark-to-market seems crazy to me when you look at massive valuations that take place on a daily basis. Massive changes that take place.
So it's an annual tax.
And the idea that you're going to be paying taxes on money that you've never actually seen because you've never cashed in your shares seems crazy.
So it's an annual tax, and I agree with you that the valuation challenges are significant, but not for securities. But
you'd be paying taxes on money you might not ever actually make.
What about startups?
You
would destroy that.
That is money that you do make. In fact, that's the whole point. You're marking to market. So the market says
if you don't sell the shares,
you don't have the money.
You don't have the money, so you have to sell some of the shares to do it. And by the way, the stocks could go down next year too. Like that, takes that into
the same
account.
thing happens with capital losses. So you take a
They're
loss.
playing us out. They're playing us out. If you don't have enough income to cover the capital losses, then that would just be money you pay.
Well, anyway, this is the debate that we ought to be having because I really think that's where the debate is going.
Is actually talking about. Anyway, gentlemen, we'll have you both back. This isn't going away anytime soon. Grover and Jared, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, coming up when we return, a huge week for retail companies report and take a look at who's on deck. Our next guest giving some name watch in that sector. We're back in just a moment.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You'll get interviews, original content, and behind-the-scenes access. Look for us on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. And subscribe to Squawk Pod today.
I've got to tell you about our beautiful city break in Bath. Midweek is the perfect time to beat the crowds. Just an hour and a half by train from London. It was so relaxing. We headed straight for Bath Christmas Market. Oh, I can still smell the roasted chestnuts and mulled wine from the chalets. Then it was time for glow-in-the-dark mini-golf. I got a hole-in-one. Well, 3. I'm a bit rusty, okay? There's so much to do in Bath. I'm already planning my next trip.
Discover the magic of Bath this Christmas. Plan ahead at visitbath.co.uk/Christmas.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Hey there, if you've got a flawlessly powdered nose for a bargain, there's 15% off fragrance and premium beauty at Boots, including Clarins Double Serum, which was £78, now £66.30. So gift like you get them at the What to Buy Someone Worth Pushing the Boat Out for, but not too far boutique. Offer ends 17th of November at selected stores and 18th of November at Boots.com.
From Ratman, creator of Shiro's Story, comes Blue Story, the groundbreaking movie of a generation. The story of Timmy.
You know I'm not part of the gang, man.
And Marco.
My brother knows you're my guy, trust me.
Brought together by friendship.
I love this guy, you know.
Divided by postcodes.
Let me tell this to you. Your boy's done it.
An eye for a night, sometimes innocence die.
My boys, if you live in them ends, you're one of them.
Why are you letting your brother brainwash you?
Whoever ain't riding with, man, is riding against, man.
That's my son in there. I'm his mother, and no one ain't come to tell me nothing.
Ratman's Blue Story. In cinemas, November 22. Certificate 15.
London. There's nothing like coming back to a warm home after a long day at work, especially when you've been stuck in rush hour for what seems like an eternity. Luckily, with Hive Active Heating, you can turn your heating on from wherever you are. And with our Black Friday offer, enjoy 25% off, plus a free Amazon Echo Dot. Search Hive Heating to buy now. Offer ends 2nd December. Hive services require broadband and Wi-Fi. Terms apply.
The good snap, the ball put down, the right-footed kick is up, it's got the distance, it's accurate enough, it is good! The hand off to Carson, slithers through the crease between the guard and the center. And
Tonight, TuneIn has your Monday Night NFL football with the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Kickoff at 8:15 p.m. Eastern.
He lost one in the end zone, it's a diving one-hand catch, the tight end in the back of the end zone!
At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. The retail sector gearing up for a very big week of earnings, kicking off by Walmart. Last week, the sector has now underperformed, though, the broader S&P so far this year, but stocks could see a boost as we approach the holiday season. Joining us right now with her picks on retail is Karen Short, food and staples retail analyst at Barclays. Good morning to you.
Morning. Thanks.
We obviously saw Walmart last week. We have had a lot of analysts come on the show and say the stock to buy that they like is actually Target. What do you think of that?
So I guess my take is that you don't necessarily have to pick one over the other.
Okay.
I mean, when we launched at Barclays in 2016, Walmart was our top pick, and I think 80% of analysts who covered it had an equal weight or an underweight on it. And we've stuck with that and think that there's significant upside to the story today. And I'll deviate to Target in a second. But when you think about Walmart, it's trading like a Staples name. And that's kind of the analogy that keeps coming up. Well, Staples names are trading at 15 or 16 times EBITDA. Walmart's at 11. So if it's going to trade like a staple, maybe people should start considering valuing it like a staple name. The flip side on Target is there's still a pretty meaningful multiple gap between Target and Walmart. And Target is only 1 quarter into having strong same-store sales growth combined with gross margin expansion and operating margin expansion. So to the extent that we're like early stage on Target,
So you look at the operations of Target and now put it and think it's comparable to what's happening at Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, we've literally only had 1 quarter of both of those dynamics happening, gross margin expansion and operating margin expansion. And Walmart is kind of 5 quarters into that. So I think there's still a lot of doubters on the Target story. And so there's upside from that perspective.
Is there one that you actually like ahead of everything else right now?
I mean, Target's definitely up there on our list. I mean, we have an overweight on both, but Target, I think, has both the upside to numbers and upside from a multiple expansion perspective.
As I always say to people, if I gave you $10,000 and you could only buy one stock, what would you buy?
Target is on the list, definitely. I mean, I have buys on both, so.
What are your other overweights? I mean, because we talk about Target and Walmart so frequently, but there's a huge retail world out there.
Yeah, so we have overweights on Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy. Those would be
Best Buy too. That's interesting.
Yeah, Best Buy.
Even with the tariffs, because that's been the one that it's a little harder to slide through any of the tariffs because almost everything they sell it has the potential for getting tariffed.
It is, and I think the thing with Best Buy is that my whole tariff viewpoint is that any retailer who tells you that they can pinpoint to the dollar what tariff impact is going to be is not telling you the truth. And basically, Corey is telling you the truth, which is that it's very hard to pinpoint what the actual impact will be. But when I look at Best Buy as a story overall, I look at their ROIC, which is in the 20s, least adjusted ROIC. It's trading at a multiple that is below Kroger, and it has core operating profit that's growing. It is on that metric, like ROIC relative to valuation, the cheapest stock in our coverage by a long shot.
Karen, thank you.
Thanks very much for having me.
We'll see what happens this week.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Coming up, Senator Rick Scott is going to join us to talk the latest in Hong Kong as those protests continue to escalate. And the U.S. and China try to hammer out its phase 1. That's coming up.
Squawk.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
Next. Nah. Nope. Boring. If you skip through loads of your TV channels, why are you paying loads of money for them? With TalkTalk TV and Faster Fibre, you can access the nation's favourite TV shows, a world of films and sport, live and on demand, all for £25.95 a month for 18 months. And if you're quick, you'll even get a year of Amazon Prime on us. Search TalkTalk TV. TalkTalk. For everyone. Offer ends 5th of December, subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
It's never nice missing out. But millions are doing just that by having a current account that doesn't pay them any interest on their hard-earned money. TSB is here to help. They offer interest to all their Plus account customers for no monthly fee. So if you're one of the millions of people who are missing out, talk to TSB. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Each day you grab the keys, pop them in the ignition, and off you go without a second thought. But what if the unpredictable happens and you wake up with something like a flat battery? You'd have been better off if someone had checked it all out, right? But that's going to cost you. What if the cost was nothing? Book a free checkup online and our experts will complete a 29-point visual check and top up vital fluids, no matter what make of vehicle you own. And we're so confident in our checks, we'll also give you 20% off your next service. How's that for peace of mind? Visit your local Vauxhall retailer and quote VX20. T's and C's apply.
Markets marching on. The Dow crossing 28,000 for the first time.
China trade tensions, how big of a risk are the protests in Hong Kong? We're going to hear from Senator Rick Scott.
And the pony goes electric. Ford CEO on the company's plans to charge up the electric vehicle market as the second hour of Squawk Box begins right now.
Good morning and welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. I'm Andrew Ross Sorkin along with Becky Quick and Joe Kernan in studio for the remainder of the show. The one and only, the legendary, can we call you legendary? Walter Isaacson is here. He is distinguished. He's an advisory partner at Perella Weinberg, a distinguished fellow no less at the Aspen Institute, and a CNBC contributor. Among those titles, obviously the last one.
Demands great respect.
Very well important. Want to take a quick check on U.S. equity futures, an hour and a half, two and a half hours, I should say, before the market opens. Right now, we do have green arrows across the board. Let's show you what's going on. Dow looks like it would open up about 47 points higher. NASDAQ looking to open about 17 points higher, and the S&P 500 up, we'll call it about 3.5 points right now. The Dow crossing the 28,000 mark for the first time ever on Friday. Joseph.
Thank you. We've had some.
No, we should be talking about that. Yeah, because
did you read the last paragraph? I love that. It was brewed in sanctimony.
Conceived in sanctimony. You know where that comes from?
From Twitter, yeah.
No, it comes from Robert Penn Warren. It was a line he used. Great literary line.
Look at you.
Conceived in sin.
You wonder why you're such a distinguished fellow. That's how I describe you. You are such a distinguished. Here's what's making headlines. So you already saw that. I didn't need to sign that. I love that.
It's an interesting.
It is an interesting piece because they totally backed off on. It depends on. And Jack Dorsey initially did it to just sort of shame Zuckerberg, right? Okay, all right. Let's talk U.S.-China first. Developments in the U.S.-China trade talks over the weekend. Chinese Vice Premier Liu said that he spoke by phone with Mnuchin and Lighthizer both, and Chinese state media say that the men discussed a phase one trade deal, and the discussions were constructive. The sides reportedly agreed to remain in close contact. Says, okay, I've almost been waiting for this too long. Now I'm getting a little. Let's do the phase one or not do it. Let's either,
think of the other things that come down that I know where you're headed.
Yeah, about the pot.
Do it or don't.
Yeah, do it or not. All right. Saudi Aramco says it's aiming for a valuation of $1.6 to $1.7 trillion from its planned IPO. That falls short of the $2 trillion that was targeted by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, but it would still be the world's biggest ever IPO by valuation. And WeWork is reportedly planning a massive round of layoffs in a bid to become stable financially. According to the New York Times, the company could announce 4,000 job cuts as early as this week. The Times says that number could eventually jump to 6,000. WeWork declined to comment when it was contacted by CNBC.
As Andrew mentioned, the Dow topping 28,000 for the first time ever on Friday. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ also reaching all-time highs. Right now, for a look on what we can expect from the markets this week, let's welcome Krishna Mamani. He is Invesco's Vice Chairman of Investments, also CNBC Senior Markets Commentator, Mike Santoli. Krishna, thanks for being here. Mike, thank you. Mike, first of all, just set us up with 28,000, what this means, how important it is, and what momentum looks like from here.
I think the fact that it's a new high and it's confirmed by new
new highs in the other indexes, and also strong rallies around the world, hitting at least 52-week highs, means that the market is in tune with this idea that it's sniffing out a revival in global activity. That's been the message of the markets. If you want to just look at what the markets are suggesting and infer that that's the outlook in the next several months, it is cyclicals doing better. It is the global picture is firmed up a little bit. So all that's on the come. And I think that the only risk in terms of the levels we're at is, the idea that we're still in around a 2% U.S. economy was a relief when we were expecting a recession in August at 2,900 on the S&P. If we get to 3,200 on the S&P, or let's say 30,000 on the Dow, 2% might not feel like it's a relief anymore. It's a little bit disappointing. I think that's the relationship we have to watch, but we're not quite there yet.
Krishna, you think that the middle of next year will be higher than where we are right now, and we're looking for new highs to continue to be set?
Absolutely. So I think it's the revival in global growth, but in addition to that, we have two other things helping the markets as well. One is the Fed on pause. They are not going to raise rates until they see persistent inflation and the expansion of their balance sheet. That is actually quite important as well. And secondly, or thirdly, the trade deal clearly helps in that regard. So I think the outlook for the markets is up. The question, as Mike points out, is how much higher from here we can go. And I think overall, the expectations have to be somewhat muted. It's positive, but it is not going to be as good as 2019 was, for the very simple reason that it's reasonably fully priced at the moment.
We heard the headlines about what the Chinese are saying over the weekend with these trade talks and what's happened. You also think that really we don't need much to happen in a trade deal. We just need to not exacerbate the situation.
I think that, again, is a very important thing. That is, the impact of the trade is in the baseline right now. So as long as things don't get far worse than where we are today, that's all we need, because there's enough revival in the global economy to support that, and the fact that central bank balance sheets and policies far more accommodative helps in that regard.
Mike, it hasn't seemed like the headlines have moved the markets as much with trade anymore. No. Maybe you see 60 points here, maybe 80 points there, but you don't even see triple-digit moves for the Dow when there's new headlines.
Yeah, obviously, the effect wears off the more times you get these kind of relatively vague directional reports. But I also think, to Krishna's point, we got a de-escalation of the trade wars where you stopped kind of adding new threats. That's in the premise right now. And I think unless you challenge that premise, you're fine.
By putting on new tariffs.
That's challengeable.
And if you don't get the new tariffs in December.
Don't you think it's asymmetric, though? I don't think the upside's much on if we get a phase one. But if they said, all right, forget it, we're going back to tariffs, then I think you could get your triple digits.
I think all of these things are asymmetric. Any of these types of things that are total surprises for the market, I think is the impact is going to be asymmetric, especially when you are at all-time highs.
Look, if you look at every peak in the market since January of 2018, they were a new high, and then they coincided with some kind of exacerbation of the trade frictions.
That's not really an argument for putting a lot of money to work right now, though, Krishna.
Well, no, I think the argument for putting a lot of money to work right now is the fact that the global economy is coming out. And I think, therefore, the question is, where do you put the money? That is far more important than how much money you put in the market. And I think the growth differential, or the improvement in growth, is probably going to be more overseas than it is going to be in the U.S. because overseas, the performance in 2018, 2019 was far worse. So I think that's where the most attractive part of the global economy is.
Krishna, we're up, 90% through earnings seasons yet? And all those recessions didn't happen. All those worries. Are we now saying there's not going to be a recession anytime next year or two?
Well, no, I don't think so. I'm on the record for saying in 2018 that we have 5 more years on the cycle. The key point here is, as long as we don't have inflation, the central banks have a lot of flexibility to manufacture outcomes by easing policies very aggressively. And that's clearly what has happened. Once the Fed pivoted early part of 2019, we will see the follow-through effect of that over the next few quarters.
Gentlemen, thank you both. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Hong Kong demonstrations turning violent once again. Hong Kong police used rubber bullets and tear gas as they stormed into a university held by protesters. Fiery explosions erupted. Anti-government protesters had barricaded themselves in the campus for days. For more on the Hong Kong unrest and its impact on the trade talks in the markets, let's welcome Senator Rick Scott of Florida. He sits on the Commerce, Budget, Homeland Security, and Armed Services Committees. And Senator, in your recent appearances, you are truly one of the biggest hawks on China and China trade. We seem to be somewhere along the way to a skinny phase one deal. Is that about what you expected? And I don't know what you'd essentially like to do, just cut off all relations with China at this point until they come into the modern world, but that's not going to happen. Would you be in favor of some type of skinny deal, phase one, that alleviates the fear of more tariffs, or do we go full bore?
First off, it's disgusting what they're doing in Hong Kong. They're taking away basic rights, and they're not using rubber bullets. They're using rubber disc. They're shooting at these protesters. They're shooting tear gas canisters at the protesters. So this is just the part of the Communist Party, Communist China, cracking down on anybody that has any rights. With regard to a trade deal, how many months are we going to keep talking about this? They're not going to do what we need them to do. They're not opening up their markets. They're not going to stop stealing our technology. They're not going to stop putting people in prison for their religion. So would I like a deal? Sure. All of us would like a deal with China. But do we believe they're going to change? They'll buy our agricultural products, which I'm glad they are, but only because under their system, they can't produce enough to feed their own citizens. That's the only reason they're doing it. They're not going to do anything that's good for us, and they're never going to open up their markets.
So, Senator, we deal with regimes around the world that for lack of a better term, we hold our nose as we deal with them. You're saying go ahead and go forward with this with China, but with eyes wide open, but go ahead and do it, but just know that in the back, in the future, we've got to try to accomplish some other things in terms of human rights and everything else?
Well, first off, we don't go around the world and do business with countries like China. China is a country that we always believe that if we did more trade with them, they would actually open up their markets. They would actually provide more freedoms, and they've done just the opposite.
It's a big IPO coming
President
up.
Xi is cracking down on everybody.
That we're doing the Saudi IPO that we love, and they there are other we're trying to negotiate with North Korea. We have.
Well, I think it's right to have conversations with people, but let's look at this. I mean, North Korea, have they changed? I mean, they may change their rhetoric a little bit, but they haven't changed. Communist China's not changing.
The larger question is, are you effectively arguing for a genuine decoupling? Because if you're talking about a genuine decoupling, then you're also talking about a decoupling
I don't think it was any question.
The world. Because you're asking countries, A, to take sides. There are lots of big issues that we, as a global citizen, if you will, have to contend with over time. And I imagine whether it's nuclear proliferation, whether it's climate, I mean, there's so many big issues that I imagine you would want countries to be talking to each other about, whether it's the internet and how people communicate with each other. And if we do have a genuine decoupling, I imagine all of that's off the table.
Well, first off, I mean, I believe we've got to live in reality. Communist China, it wants to control the entire world, including Americans. All right, look at all their actions. They promised Obama they wouldn't militarize the South China Sea. They did. All right, they don't open up their markets. Look at all the things they're doing. We have to live in reality for a second. They're not our partner. Just like Russia's not our partner. They're never going to be our partner under the existing leadership teams at these countries. So we have to act in the best interest of American citizens. We cannot continue to build the Chinese economy and have them steal American jobs, sell fentanyl in this country, and kill American citizens. Let's live in reality. They're only going to buy our products if they have to do it because under their system it doesn't work.
Senator Scott, this is Walter Isaacson. China restricts, of course, our internet companies, including what Google and Facebook and others can do. And yet the biggest growing app in America is TikTok. And, ByteDance, their company owns it. Should we put similar restrictions because they're harvesting data and including invading privacy? I mean, that's part of what these companies do. Should we be putting restrictions on the way that their technology can work and asking people in the U.S. not to use it?
Well, first off, I think all of us have to understand if we give data to China, they can use it against us. So I have a bill that says we're not going to buy any more Chinese drones. I think the president's doing the right thing by saying we've got to be careful about 5G with Huawei. So we've got to look at it's a different issue. We've got to look at this from a federal government standpoint and state government standpoints. But then as a citizen, do you want your data to be owned by the Chinese government? That's what's happening. There's no difference between the Chinese government and the Communist Party. There's no freedoms there. Companies there have to work with their government. So as an individual, I think you ought to be very careful about what data you want China to have. As a country, we have to be absolutely clear. We are not going to do business with China and let them have our information. And that's what you do with drones. That's what you do with Huawei. So we've got to be very, very, very cautious.
Senator, you mentioned that you are in favor of the administration and President Trump's caution when it comes to Huawei. Today, those Huawei licenses come up for renewal once again. Should they be re-signed and allow American companies to go ahead and continue to use that technology?
Absolutely not. If Huawei is a branch of the Communist Party of Communist China. And so we have got to understand that we need to go build out our technology without the support of China, which will control our information. No one likes what China's doing, but we're not going to help them by pacifying them. We're not going to get where we want to do by pacifying them. We've got to act in our own best interest. And our own best interest is not doing business with China.
On Huawei in particular, and I don't want to be a defender here of Huawei, but we've now heard from a couple of big leaders around Huawei. Do you have any evidence thus far directly that you believe that the government has used Huawei in improper ways against the West?
Yeah, they used it. They did it in. I'll get you the information, but they did it in Africa. And just remember, the individual that's built Huawei is part of the Communist China, part of the Communist Party. And so they are obligated now by law in China. Every company is obligated to provide whatever information the Chinese government wants. So absolutely they're going to use it. And why would you put yourself in the position if they haven't done it yet? But they've clearly done it in Africa already.
These protests, I don't know. We got to go, Senator, but it seems like the protesters are going to keep pushing this. And now, arrows, if
I hope so.
Really? But arrows, if you go to arrows, then they're not going to use rubber bullets. They're almost daring the police to.
Yeah, but I agree. They shouldn't be doing it unpeacefully. But let's remember, they were outlawed. Peaceful protests were outlawed. This is caused by President Xi saying you cannot have just a peaceful protest. So he's caused this. I don't want any protest not to be peaceful. Who doesn't?
Okay. All right, Senator, thanks. We know you got to run. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, coming up when we return, John Legere isn't considering the WeWork CEO job, so who is? We will ask guest host Walter Isaacson about that and discuss SoftBank's takeover. Before we head to a break, let's get a check on the markets right now. Green arrows across the board. Dow up about 57 points. S&P 500 looking to open 5 points higher. 2.5 hours before the market opens. Squawk returns with a lot more in just a moment.
Interactive Brokers.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
It's hard to enjoy your daily yoga routine when your mind is on your next VAT return and how to avoid the usual mistakes. But with QuickBooks, the new VAT Smart Scan technology does the work for you. As the deadline approaches, it checks for duplicates, looks for anomalies, and reviews VAT codes. So your biggest struggle is touching your forehead with your ankle.
Search for QuickBooks, perfect for making tax digital. QuickBooks, backing you.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 refresh credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
At TUI, we can help you find the perfect getaway for two. We fly to over 70 destinations worldwide, so wherever you have in mind, we'll help you get there. Book now and choose from thousands of holidays under $399 per person and pay £0 deposit when paying with direct debit. Book online or in store with one of our travel experts. At TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's and put you in the middle. Offer available on selected holidays for a limited time and subject to availability. Booking T's and C's apply. At all protected.
Looking for a great phone to take brilliant photos? Like an incredible iPhone 7 with a dual-lens camera? Then look no further than Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. You'll find an iPhone 7 for just $14.49 a month, our lowest ever price. Be quick, this deal ends Sunday, 1st of December. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion. Was £19.75, now £14.49. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status. Phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Still to come on Squawk Box this morning, layoffs looming at WeWork. A new report suggests that the company may slash thousands of jobs. We'll talk about the future of the company and who could be the next CEO with Walter Isaacson. That's right after this break. And then charged up and ready to go. Ford unveiling its latest electric endeavor. We will hear from Ford CEO in just a little bit. And later this morning, the man who made the call that Carl Icahn was getting involved in HPQ now says that there is something brewing with Netflix. We're going to hear from the head of the events-driven research at Gordon Haskett about the streaming service and what he thinks is happening next. Squawk Box will be right back.
This CNBC program is sponsored by...
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen and favorite ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
Good. Here's a swing and a drive deep to right field. Looking up. Goodbye, baseball.
Between game-winning shots and walk-off homers, follow TuneIn on social media to discover the latest and greatest in live sports.
With the 24th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft.
From live reminders that the biggest MLB games are on the air, to recommendations of the best new sports talk shows and podcasts.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be good right away in 3 years.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
From ESPN and the award-winning producers of The Sterling Affairs comes the latest season of 30 for 30 podcasts. 4 brand new stories of espionage.
He wanted this team to be the Barcelona of women's basketball.
Resilience.
I started to scream. I tried to get away.
Corruption.
It's the culture of win at all costs.
And rebirth.
How will we ever rebuild it?
30 for 30 Podcasts, Season 6. Listen now to 30 for 30 Podcasts on TuneIn.
The good snap, the ball put down, the right-footed kick is up, it's got the distance, it's accurate enough, it is good! The hand off to Carson, slithers through the crease between the guard and the center. And
tonight, TuneIn has your Monday Night NFL football with the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. Kickoff at 8:15 p.m. Eastern.
He lost one in the end zone. It's a diving one-hand catch, the tight end in the back of the end zone.
At home or on the go, hear the home and away call of every NFL game this season on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Get your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three, it's up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Cutting for the net, scores! On the goal line, Marshawn scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. T-Mobile CEO John Legere will not be taking the job as the CEO of WeWork. In doing so, Legere is avoiding a potential conflict of interest due to SoftBank's involvement in both WeWork and Sprint, which is one of the reasons it never made any sense to begin with. I don't know why people were reporting this.
The hair? Because of the
crazy.
hair?
Let's get some perspective from our guest host, Walter Isaacson, advisory partner at Perella Weinberg Partners, professor at Tulane University, and also CNBC contributor. We should mention also on a day when there's a report out that WeWork is now not going to fire 4,000 people, but may fire 6,000 people. I know you know Adam Newman. What do you make of this whole situation?
Right. Here's the critical thing, and we're talking about it at Perella Weinberg. Is this a real estate time-sharing company, or is this some big, broad lifestyle company? And Adam Newman had an amazing vision. In fact, he had a vision that was too visionary by half, I think. That he was going to just change the way we live in the age of the gig economy and social media fracturing and all that. We were all going to work together, live together, learn together. I think it's now got to settle back in and say, okay, but first, we're a real estate company that actually has places for people to work. Right. And I think there was, Jason Katari, who runs Hotels.com or something. There are people like that who probably should take over the company and stabilize it, and then you can bring back the visionary next time.
But you don't think the two fellows who are in there now, the co-CEOs, you think they're not long for this?
They seem like they're competent. They're doing it by cutting. Right. I think you probably at some point want to say, here's a vision, but let's have it be a narrow, clear vision that we're in sort of a .com booking of space business, not a changing the world business.
The long-term question, if you're SoftBank, and by the way, if you're the public markets, because this has frozen to some degree the market for certain types of privately held companies that would otherwise want to come public, right? I mean, this has sort of shifted the whole balance. Is whether you think SoftBank gets its money out, right?
Yeah, well,
they are $10, $15 billion in, maybe more.
But how can that happen? I've tried to do the math.
You mean can they ever make the money back? And you're saying you don't think they can?
I don't think they can. But I do think there's a larger question here, which is so many industries have been disrupted, by the digital revolution. One that hasn't is kind of the way we work. We don't have an Uber or a Airbnb for the way we work, the way we should have portable benefits, the way we should have training, the way we should have space to work, the way we should share human resources or
and this was
like that. And this is what we need, and they got over their skis. They fell off. They fell down.
It wasn't just over their skis, though. I mean,
they did this so badly. What Andrew is saying is that this will hurt the IPO market and the equities market. What this does is it hurts the concept of a company like this, which we need. We need these type of companies.
I don't even want a carpool. Stop.
You don't want
No, I don't even want a carpool.
I don't want to share resources.
By the way, they have revolutionized the real estate business.
And Uber. I understand.
For commercial real estate.
I'm fine.
Well, they have, and you don't want that to be lost by the collapse of this company. We, in this day and age, where I went to work about 35 years ago, about 4 blocks from here, in the big old Time Life building. I never had to worry about anything again. There was always a desk, there were always paper clips, etc. Nowadays, we don't have that, and we need a new way to work.
But Adam Newman was like the Music Man, right? Comes to town.
And the Music Man taught him how to play. The Music Man, they got a good band. They had 76 trombones.
Billions of dollars in the way.
Well, at least they believe they had it.
Embrace this new stuff for a dinosaur, for an old dog. You learn these new tricks. You're ready to go, huh? You better. You know what? I'm going to get a flu shot. If we're going to do all this stuff together,
You're so overdue for a flu shot.
I am so overdue for a flu shot.
You should get a smartphone.
I should go on Facebook?
Yeah.
What about my MySpace account? I'll lose all those followers?
You can go on AOL and CompuServe.
God, it takes me forever to dial.
Walter,
You know what I
that's
mean?
the nice way of saying, like, okay, boomer. Right?
I get I didn't know what that meant. They send in stuff that says, okay, but there's a boomer.
Terrible.
What do they say? Boomers are bad?
No, it's like they're
the
basically
greatest
writing you off,
generation.
the way they say it. Okay. That's
Mr.
the write-off.
Flintstone.
One thing I will tell you is don't read your Twitter feed in real time. It's not going to be a pretty sight.
Oh, we do.
I know you do.
Everyone.
I'm watching them do
Blocked
it.
everyone. That doesn't like. I have.
Then how come you're getting all those that are calling you
Because these
an
are all
aging baby
Joe, you're the
boomer?
best, and I retweet that.
Okay, from Donald Trump.
I'd like you to retweet. He hasn't weighed in yet. I'll let you know.
All right. When we come back this morning, Ford is looking to combine the company's heritage of the past with the technology of the future with the release of the electric Ford Mustang. It's called the Mach-E. Phil LeBeau caught up with Ford CEO Jim Hackett last night. We've got his comments straight ahead. Squawk Box will be right back.
This CNBC program is...
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can feel your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
The world is a noisy place, but whether I'm here or here, my phone calls are always loud and clear on my Doro 6620. Hi, love. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm 10 minutes away. Get your Doro 6620 from Amazon, Tesco, and O2 today.
It's hard to enjoy your daily yoga routine when your mind is on your next VAT return and how to avoid the usual mistakes. But with QuickBooks, the new VAT Smart Scan technology does the work for you. As the deadline approaches, it checks for duplicates, looks for anomalies, and reviews VAT codes. So your biggest struggle is touching your forehead with your ankle.
Search for QuickBooks, perfect for making tax digital. QuickBooks, backing you.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 Refresh Credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
At TUI, we can help you find the perfect getaway for two. We fly to over 70 destinations worldwide, so wherever you have in mind, we'll help you get there. Book now and choose from thousands of holidays under $399 per person and pay £0 deposit when paying with direct debit. Book online or in store with one of our travel experts. At TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Offer available on selected holidays for a limited time and subject to availability. Booking T's and C's apply. At or protected.
Splash in LA, Ford unveiling its all-electric SUV, the Mustang Mach-E. Phil LeBeau was at the event last night and caught up with CEO Jim Hackett and Ford Chairman Bill Ford. Phil, what do you think? Did it live up to the hype? Do you like it?
I think that Ford has done a nice job here, basically getting away from what people have been fearful of, which is that outside of Tesla, when you look at electric vehicles, there's not a whole lot to be excited about. The design has been fairly utilitarian for the industry. Ford has said, you know what, we can make an aggressive-looking vehicle, an SUV that we believe is worthy of the Mustang name. And some people will look at this and they'll say, well, yeah, but does it have the performance that can rival Tesla when the Model Y comes out later this year? When they unveiled it last night, they made a couple of points very clear. First of all, this is a Mustang in terms of performance. Yes, it's not a pony car. It is an SUV, but they said over and over, and the point they really tried to hit home last night is this has the performance in terms of 0 to 60, somewhere in the 3.5-second range, as well as the total range when fully charged of up to 300 miles. And Ford's chairman, Bill Ford, who is a lover of Mustangs, has a number of them personally and has protected the brand over the years, said, yeah, I was resistant at first, but eventually I gave in to the Mustang name.
Basically said over my dead body because I'm very protective of the Mustang brand. I've always loved Mustangs. I've seen attempts over the years within Ford to do things that would have hurt the Mustang name, and so I feel like I'm, sort of the protector of the history and also the protector of the Mustang into the future.
All right, let's talk numbers. The price on this will come out at around $44,000. That'll be the base price before the federal EV tax credit that you can add in. That's another $7,500, bringing it down to the mid $30,000 range. And it will be built in Mexico. Now, Jim Hackett, CEO of Ford, says one reason is being built in Mexico is, A, they planned for it for some time. Also, that allows them to bring the price down into the mid $40,000 range.
The decision to build this in Mexico was done 2 years ago, and we need it in terms of the way we're trying to hit price points. But at the same time, with this UAW negotiations, we made a huge commitment, multi-billion dollars for employment in the United States, and Ford has more automotive workers making its vehicles than any other company right now. So I think the president's proud of the position that Ford has in that regard.
You heard him reference the president. We're talking about President Trump. He has not shied away from targeting Ford in tweets in the past and the fact that this Mach-E is built in Mexico. Let's see if the president says anything at all. Guys, as you take a look at shares of Ford over the last 2 years, we're entering a period here where the cost cutting has already taken place. Now it's a matter of growing revenue, and they believe that the Mustang Mach-E is a key part of that. Again, it rolls out late next year. The base price starts at about $44,000. They'll go all the way up to a GT version. That's going to price close to $60,000. The EV wars, guys, they're heating up.
Hey, Phil, this is Walt Isaacson. Why in the world did they make it an SUV if they wanted it to be a Mustang?
Well, two things, Walt. First of all, the market is there in terms of SUVs. You've got to go where the market is. So you need it to make either an SUV or a crossover. Cars, electric cars, while there is some market there, it's not a big market. So they needed to do that. They believe that the Mustang name allows them to, at a minimum, cut through the clutter and have somebody say, wait a second, that's a Mustang? I want to go see that. Now, somebody might get to a showroom and they might say, wait a second, I thought this was going to be a pony car, and it's not. It's an SUV, and they may not be interested in it. But this allows them to, at a minimum, say, I want to go into a Ford showroom and check out the new Mustang.
Yeah, because they didn't want to call it the Pinto.
Wise idea.
Well, look, what if they came up with some name? What if they came up with some name like the E-Max or something like that?
No, but the
Let's
Mustang's a great name.
Aside from Mustang and F-Series, those are the only two names in the Ford lineup that cut through the club.
It's not a Mustang. It doesn't look like a Mustang, so it's a gimmick because of the name recognition.
You're correct about that.
And they didn't want to use,
about that.
And they didn't want to use Pinto.
And Mach-E is a made-up name, too. Macchiato. But I like the car. It looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. I like it.
Who designed it? Did they know?
Look, this is going to be interesting to see how this shakes out between them and the Model Y when Tesla rolls that out late next year, because you're going to start to see more of these in that SUV crossover utility segment.
Cool. Okay, Phil, thank you for bringing us that. That was a fun story. I enjoyed that.
You bet.
Coming up when we return, we are on Dow Watch this morning. We're going to tell you what's moving markets this morning right after the break. And then Google's acquisition of Fitbit sparking some privacy concerns and causing some to ditch their devices. We'll tell you about that story and some other tech talkers straight ahead when Squawk returns.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You'll get interviews, original content, and behind-the-scenes access. Look for us on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. And subscribe to Squawk Pod today.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
It's hard to find a children's gift which doesn't have a short shelf life. They'll eat all the chocolates in 5 minutes, finish their video games by the end of the week, and grow out of their trainers before you know it. So instead of buying them something just for Christmas, buy them something that's for life. Premium bonds from NS&I. Every month they'll have the chance to win cash prizes. And now you can buy premium bonds for any child. Start their savings journey from just £25. Search Gift Premium Bonds to find out more.
The world is a noisy place, but whether I'm here or here, my phone calls are always loud and clear on my Doro 6620. Hi, love. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm 10 minutes away. Get your Doro 6620 from Amazon, Tesco, and O2 today.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 Refresh Credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
At TUI, we can help you find the perfect family holiday. And with flights from 20 UK airports, we make getting there a whole lot easier. Book now and choose from thousands of holidays under $399 per person. And spread the cost with £0 deposit when paying with direct debit. Book online or in-store with one of our travel experts. At TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Offer available on selected holidays for a limited time and subject to availability. Booking T's and C's apply. At or protected.
Hey there, if you've got a flawlessly powdered nose for a bargain, there's 15% off fragrance and premium beauty at Boots, including Clarins Double Serum, which was £78, now £66.30. So gift like you get them at the What to Buy Someone Worth Pushing the Boat Out for, but not too far boutique. Offer ends 17th of November at selected stores and 18th of November at Boots.com.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Time to check on today's Morning Movers. Dom Chu joins us now. Hey, Dom, you were up early again.
I was up early again.
The sunshine.
The sun was not shining.
No, but you are.
I'm trying to, because I like to be at least a ray of sunshine on an otherwise, whatever morning. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's good. It works for me, right? So anyway, Joe, we're going to kick off our Monday Morning Movers with shares of Tesla. They're up fractionally and just around 14,000 shares of pre-market volume. The electric car maker is getting some help from analysts at Deutsche Bank. They've upped their price target on the stock to $290. It was $270. They kept the hold rating, though. They cited, among other things, more positive sentiment around the stock heading into that big unveil of their pickup truck later on this month. Also an increase in some valuation multiple assumptions, so those shares up about 0.5%. Next up are shares of TripAdvisor, and they are higher by just around maybe 1.25% at this stage, maybe around 1,700 shares of pre-market volume. The online travel booking and review site is getting an upgrade by analysts at Cowen to a market perform. It was an underperform. The target price, though, gets cut to $30. It was $39. The upgrade is largely a valuation call after a steep sell-off post-earnings report, and it assumes a boost in pre-tax profits from cost-cutting measures, helping to offset some assumed revenue decline. So those shares up 1.25%. And then we're going to end on shares of Splunk. I just like saying Splunk. They're up around 3% right now, relatively thin pre-market trading volume. The software and data analysis company gets upgraded to overweight from equal weight by analysts over at Morgan Stanley. The target price goes to $169. It was $140. They cited, among other things, a better competitive portfolio of products, more anticipated market share gains in key end markets, and a revamped pricing model for services. And those shares up big right now, Becky, pre-market. I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
When we come back, HP says thanks, but no thanks to Xerox takeover bid. We'll talk about that story and other tech talkers, too, right after this break. And later, more high-level trade talks taking place over the weekend between the United States and China. The latest from Washington is straight ahead.
The song I thought of for you. Sunshine of Your Love.
Where the sun don't shine.
Where the sun don't shine is what you thought of. That's good. Good.
Spark Box will be right back.
I'm with you, my love.
It's hard to find a children's gift which doesn't have a short shelf life. They'll eat all the chocolates in 5 minutes, finish their video games by the end of the week, and grow out of their trainers before you know it. So instead of buying them something just for Christmas, buy them something that's for life. Premium bonds from NS&I. Every month they'll have the chance to win cash prizes. And now you can buy premium bonds for any child. Start their savings journey from just £25. Search Gift Premium Bonds to find out more.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Sorry, Stevie's a bit poorly, so we won't be coming to nursery today.
Okay, thanks for letting us know.
So I brought Max instead. I packed his favourite toy. He normally naps twice a day and loves playing outside.
Like getting your money's worth? Enjoy the delicious cheeseburger. Just 99p from the McDonald's Saver menu. From 10:30am, except in selected restaurants from 11am. Price and participation may vary.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 refresh credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. Over the weekend, HP's board unanimously rejected Xerox's bid, saying it undervalued HP and was not in the shareholders' best interest. Our next guest says that rejection now puts both companies in play. And joining us for more on this and so much more, Dan Gallagher is here, reporter at the Wall Street Journal, and our guest host, Walter Isaacson, is also here as well. Good morning. So both companies are now, you think, up for grabs?
Yeah, well, I'm of the opinion that when Xerox made this bid, which looked kind of crazy on paper because they're so much smaller, is that it looked like a way maybe to force HP to the table in some way.
Right.
And HP's rejection seemed to say that they've talked before, and even HP may walk away from it.
But sense because you would almost have to. I mean,
they were saying buy me.
Buy me.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
It was unusual.
The whole objective,
you have less debt if you're not buying. If it's a bigger company buying.
It's so sad. That's a cry for help.
Do you think that Xerox was trying to put itself into play by doing this?
Well, I think they're trying to do something. I mean, they settled this deal with Fujifilm that gives them some cash and kind of frees them up a little bit. And because they have some management there that's been supported by Carl Icahn, I think they kind of have a mentality to look and try to be aggressive and do a deal. And what HP admitted when they did their big analyst meeting last month is they essentially admitted that printing is not a growing business and it's not going to grow in 10 years from now. So it's the definition of a secular business.
So they need to attach themselves to somebody. Is Xerox the right place to attach yourself to? I mean, there's not crazy growth at Xerox either.
No, I mean, I think the logic on combining these two companies is not that they're going to grow at some point. It's to consolidate. It's to address, and Japanese companies like Canon are very strong in office copying.
Right.
So I think they think to beef up and take on those. But the wrinkle is that HP is still a majority PC business in terms of where it gets most of its revenue. And in the proposal Xerox made, they're proposing to essentially slash R&D funding, to help pay for this. And how do you have a PC company stay competitive when you have, really slashed R&D budget? That's a question that's out there.
So what products do you think they should be making 10 years from now, both of them, if they were combined?
I think printing is still going to be with us in 10 years. It's just not going to be, there's not going to be more people printing in 10 years. There's not going to be more businesses printing. It's sort of this melting iceberg. In a sense. So
it's a little better than the Fuji photofilm business, but
unless it all becomes 3D printing, and by the way, HP's in that business. And
they are.
What are we going to really use that for? I don't know. Is that really
a printer?
No, a 3D printer. That scares me.
You're going to print stuff.
Organs?
You can actually print food with it. I heard.
I mean, it's so weird. It's like
We're going to pivot to a different topic, though, because our next story, Apple removing 181 vaping apps from its App Store. This happened on Friday, citing the rise of health problems linked to vaping. Obviously, President Trump also on e-cigarettes over the weekend now seemed to take a step back.
Can't figure out where he's going on.
He was very much against e-cigarettes.
And then he had a meeting.
And I think was told basically that part of his base, he could lose some of his base if he goes after e-cigarettes. And he was very strong on the issue. I mean, emotionally, and sort of where he wanted to be. And now I think little political wind is.
It's usually a lot of times those bells don't go off in Trump's head, but that went off.
Well, I think it was his wife and daughter who pushed him.
Maybe
some of those things too.
Originally on the issue.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I guess the bigger question is, you're seeing Apple do this. You'll see. I don't know if Google, you think, will ultimately do similar things, take these kind of apps off their service?
I'm not sure. Google and Apple have been like the polar opposite in the way they've approached their App Store. Apple's always been, I'll use the word paternalistic. From the beginning, they've made clear that they're not going to let any kind of app at all on the App Store. So I don't think this move is a big surprise for them. Google's been a lot more of the Android App Store has been more of a Wild West type of thing where they just kind of have hands off. So I don't really know if Google will go down that road. It's not surprising to me that Apple did it at all.
No, it's very much in the DNA of Apple ever since the very beginning that this is a curated store, that you don't want the whole Apple and iOS devices and systems polluted by people being able to plan anything.
But it's interesting to me that Apple's taking effectively, I don't know if you call it a political position, but a position on the...
Well, they do it on hate speech. They do it on nudity. They do it on a lot of things.
But this goes back to all the things we were talking about, Twitter and Facebook now with political...
Bingo. I was about to say it goes back to all these things where platforms either do or they don't take responsibility for what's on
for Google, it's like anything goes Wild Wild West. Unless you're in China. And then, whatever you guys want in China, we won't put that on, right?
Well, in China, Google doesn't even do business.
That's what I mean, though.
But Apple does business in China, and by the way, does, I think, basically what the Chinese government wants.
Right.
So
it's not what our...
Meanwhile, talking about Google, we should tell you, some Fitbit users telling CNBC they started looking for alternatives for tracking their fitness when they learned of Google's acquisition of Fitbit because they don't trust Google. What do you make of that?
Well, when I wrote my column on that deal, I actually had people sending the same thing to me. I mean, it's anecdotal. I don't really know how many people are doing it, but it speaks to, I think, the core problem that Google's going to have with this acquisition is this sort of lack of trust and this image.
Do you think it's a business issue, or do you think that the government's... I think the government's going to look at this transaction in a way that maybe they haven't looked at transactions of this scale before, because usually you'd say, they're small in this space, they have nothing to do with it, and then if 5-10 years from now, all of a sudden they own the space, people will go, what were you doing?
I think it's a reason why these big tech companies are going to have a hard time doing almost any size of deal, because everything right now is going to get looked at. So even if it's hard to argue that Google's going to become a much more powerful company by owning Fitbit right now, but now everybody's worried about what they're going to be in 10 years. 20 years.
And a different aspect of
it.
But it
also goes to what is the business Google is in. They're not in the fitness business. They're in the data collection business. And this is something where antitrust enforcement, I think, has been shifting, is going to shift left and right, whether it's Josh Hawley or senators on the left. They're going to say, we got to go back to an antitrust regime that says it's not just about consumer pricing in very narrow markets. It's about Google leveraging its monopoly in certain fields to get into others to be part of the data collection machine.
Do you think moves like this, Google buying Fitbit and Facebook getting into Libra, is that tone deaf, realizing what's happening in the markets, or are they just figuring we better run while we can because they're going to shut us down?
Well, obviously getting into Libra was a bit tone deaf because suddenly the music started playing and they had to back off. I think that, I think you're not going to, I agree, we're not going to see a whole lot more acquisitions. I mean, the notion that Facebook could get, Instagram or
wouldn't happen today.
Yeah, and it was because antitrust enforcement for the past 10, 15 years mainly looked at the harm to consumer pricing, which is not much if it's Facebook or Google because they're free. But the real pricing comes from them having your data.
Well, look, I don't know if you saw Facebook announced maybe just a month ago they're buying something called Control Labs. I don't know if we talked about it there. This is a device that goes on your wrist that actually effectively reads your brain, right? And it's $500 million acquisition.
Very, very comforting to have
talking
Facebook.
about data collection.
Why would you wear it?
And by the way, we talked about it on this show, but otherwise I've heard basically nothing about it. And so the question is, do regulators look at that in a different way?
And I think it's mainly
that's so unique and so different from where their current business is. This is the fundamental question.
But that's why you have to define the business as, is it a business of making you fit, or is it a business of getting your data?
But it is a shift in regulatory scrutiny
Bingo.
and thinking for it. And that's a big lift to get to that point.
It's a pretty big lift, but it's, as Joe and I always do, we go back to the past. I mean, this is the way they took on Standard Oil. This is the way they took on US v. Microsoft. It was not on consumer pricing. It was you're expanding into other endeavors using your dominance in a particular field.
We try to go back to the past.
You
We can't go back to the past.
Yeah, you have a wind-up computer there.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of time. I don't think we have enough time now to talk about, you used to be the biggest promoter of the ACLU and free speech, and now you're just a big censor. Now you like Jack Dorsey. You think Jack Dorsey's a hero, and Mark Zuckerberg.
We're talking about Twitter.
And how they really aren't going to ban political, because they really.
Let me, because I teach this in my Tulane class, which is what would you do for Twitter and Facebook on political ads. And the reason you like free speech is that in the marketplace of ideas, you end up getting closer to the truth with free speech.
Okay.
The problem with Twitter and Facebook is that you don't have a marketplace. You have micro-targeting, so that a particular ad, true or false, especially a false ad, goes only to a tiny segment of people. Say, people who hate, gays in African-American communities in a precinct in Detroit. That means you don't. So I would make a rule for Facebook, if I were offering it to Zuckerberg, and I think some people have talked about it, say you can do political ads. You can even have all sorts of political ads you think may be dicey, but you can't micro-target them. They have to go to everybody. Everybody's got to see them. And that gives you what Oliver Wendell Holmes said about free speech, was you put it in the marketplace of ideas.
But you don't think that Dorsey's move was purely for competitive reasons and to shame Zuckerberg?
I don't think
they didn't have a big. It didn't matter much on Twitter anyway, so they were able. It didn't matter
much on Twitter. I do think it is important to take responsibility.
And now they're backing off. Now they're backing down on that even. And what the Journal called a sanctimonious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure there are any businesses that don't have business reasons for what they do. I would hope there aren't. But I would also think that if you're going to take responsibility for what's on your platform. If you're Twitter, you should say you can buy political ads. You just can't micro-target them. We're going to make them random, so we have a democracy in which everybody gets to discuss things.
Most people self-micro-target. I do. I only watch certain cable channels.
Yeah, but your ads are not. Your ads are micro-targeted based on your preferences, but they can change that algorithm and say the ads will go to everybody randomly.
All I see is Joe Namath trying to sell me Medicare things. That's the only ad I'd sell again and again and again and again and again. That's all I see is Joe. He looks good. Looks good.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Okay. Dan,
always
thank you.
Back to the
Thank you. Appreciate it. Walter, you're sticking around for the rest of the show.
If Joe will have.
I'll have you because you're so distinguished. You're a distinguished fellow.
I'm the only one who wears a coat.
Yeah, that's right. It's
true.
That helps with the distinguished.
Looks good.
But no
tie.
Coat
too. Looks good.
Yeah.
I'm from Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
right.
All right, when we come back, a new call of Netflix. The director of event-driven research at Gordon Haskett will join us to talk about the buzz that's building over the streaming service. He's been right about past calls. Make sure you listen in for this one. In the meantime, check out the futures this morning. Dow crossed above 28,000 for the first time on Friday. This morning, it's indicated up another 68 points. S&P futures up by 5.5. NASDAQ up 2. We'll be right back.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 Refresh Credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
Looking for a great phone to take brilliant photos? Like an incredible iPhone 7 with a dual-lens camera? Then look no further than Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. You'll find an iPhone 7 for just $14.49 a month, our lowest ever price. Be quick, this deal ends Sunday, 1st of December. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion. Was £19.75, now £14.49. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status. Phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all-butter mini Stollen Bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores, excludes NI.
Hey NFL fans, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you have unlimited access to every team and every game in the league. Listen live as it happens or on demand. Anytime, anywhere. All season long. Search NFL today.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Stocks breaking through, the Dow crossing 28,000, and we've got new records in sights as we approach the opening bell.
Feeling the power, Ford's out with a Mustang-inspired electric SUV. This hour, the company's president of automotive joins us live.
And he spotted Warren Buffett in the Occidental deal. He tagged Carl Icahn in Xerox HP. Now he's got a new call on a FANG stock that you need to hear about. The final hour of Squawk Box begins right now.
Good morning and welcome to Squawk Box here on CNBC Live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Joe Kernan, along with Becky Quick and Andrew Ross Sorkin, our guest hosts from 7 to 9 East Coast time. Walter Isaacson, advisory partner at Perella Weinberg Partners, professor at Tulane University and a CNBC contributor, and a distinguished fellow at the Aspen deal, too, right? Very distinguished.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of jobs so you can move and
they left that out. It almost says almost too long. We almost have to go to break after we introduce you. Anyway, U.S. equity futures at this hour are indicated. Those are some of the best levels we've seen. 66 points on the Dow this morning, indicated to open there, up 5 on the S&P. NASDAQ indicated up about 22. Treasury yields, looked like they were headed for 2%, and suddenly we took a wrong turn. We're down at about 185. We'll see what happens.
Let's get you caught up on some of the stories investors are going to be talking about today. It was another weekend of unrest in Hong Kong, which spilled into Monday. Police in the Asian financial hub firing rubber bullets and tear gas as they confined anti-government protesters to a university. Some of the protesters tried to break through police lines and out of the campus. Police, though, made arrests and tackled some of the demonstrators. Over the weekend, Chinese troops were seen on the streets of Hong Kong cleaning up debris. Although they weren't in uniform, it is rare for China's military to make any appearance there in Hong Kong, and some people are reading a lot into that. HP's board rejecting a bid from Xerox to take over the computer maker. The board said that Xerox's offer of $22 a share is not in the best interest of its shareholders and would undervalue HP. They also raised concerns about how much debt would be taken on between the combined companies. In a letter to Xerox's CEO, HP's board also cited what they called the potential impact of that outsized debt level on the combined company's stock. However, HP left the door open for the possibility of acquiring Xerox, saying that it recognized the potential benefits of consolidation. HP shares down by about 1% this morning. Xerox shares off by 3.7%. And Saudi Aramco says that it is aiming for a valuation of $1.6 to $1.7 trillion from its planned IPO. That falls short of the initial $2 trillion that was targeted by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. But it would still be the world's biggest ever IPO in terms of valuation.
Okay, more high-level contact on trade over the weekend between the U.S. and China, and that country's Minister of Commerce saying that Vice Premier Liu He spoke with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and U.S. Trade Rep Robert Lighthizer. I want to get over to Kayla Tausche, who joins us with more on what's going on. Kayla.
Good morning, Andrew. The principals spoke over the weekend about their core concerns in the Phase 1 deal, in what China's Commerce Ministry called a constructive conversation. Neither the U.S. Trade Representative, the Treasury Department, nor the White House even acknowledged there was a call scheduled and provided no readout on what was discussed as the U.S. and China try to solve some of the last and most difficult outstanding issues as this partial deal remains elusive. With the White House's self-imposed deadline of this weekend coming and going, there are still other deadlines approaching. Today, for instance, the temporary licenses for businesses to supply Huawei expire. The New York Times reports that the Commerce Department will extend them. But at CNBC's East Tech West conference, the company's chairman said that hasn't happened yet.
Actually not. Huawei has not received any communication from any U.S. entities, and we don't have channel to talk to them either.
In the meantime, Hong Kong has sunk into a recession for the first time in a decade due to trade tensions and the unrest there, which you just mentioned. If that unrest keeps escalating, it could complicate the White House's effort to separate these two issues, which they have tried very much to do in the last several months. Becky.
All right, Kayla, thank you very much. Joining us right now to talk more about it is Dan Clifton. He is Strategas Research Partners Head of Policy Research. And Dan, what do you think after the posturing, what we heard at the end of last week from the administration here, what we heard over the weekend from the Chinese?
Yeah, well, good morning, Becky. And I would say that we were on a very good path to getting a deal. And last week, we started to see some pressures building into financial markets and questions about whether the deal was going to happen. And it's largely because the Chinese weren't giving the U.S. much room to negotiate. They're basically saying that they want tariffs, the existing September tariffs, to be lowered, and they didn't want to name their agriculture purchases. So the call this weekend was really to discuss those issues. We thought, as Kayla mentioned, there would be a deal by today if there was a Chile conference. That got canceled. So now the goal is to get a deal before December 15th. That's when the next set of tariffs come into effect. Wilbur Ross has been very clear that Huawei will get that exemption if there's going to be a deal. I think he reiterated that over the weekend again. It's really about putting these pieces together. I would argue economically, both sides are aligned for the first time. The China economy is slowing fairly considerably. Their food prices are going up, particularly pork, which is up 100% year over year. And here in the U.S., you're seeing growth slow, swing state employment declining. So both sides are just trying to figure out what could be in that deal to get both sides together. And I think they're going to need a couple more weeks to get there.
You may have their needs kind of aligned at this point, but that doesn't mean that either side is going to say, okay, I'll capitulate to what you want. Is this deal going to have anything in it?
Well, I think so. First, everybody knows about the agriculture purchases, and that's significant, or a delay of the December tariffs, which would fall on consumer products. But if you start to get into reducing the existing September tariffs, you're sending a message to the U.S. business community that not only are there not going to be more tariffs in the future, but that the existing tariffs can come down. That's the confidence measure that we would need to get investment. That's where negotiators are trying to get to. And unfortunately, it looked last week like China didn't want to put structural reforms in place, which is what the U.S. needs to do to actually reduce those tariffs. So that's the big question, whether they can get there or not. I'd say time is of the essence. You mentioned the Hong Kong protests as something that could derail this. You also had a 400-page document leak in the New York Times this week about some of the re-education camps going on in China. Right. All of those external events could disrupt this balance. So sooner would rather be later.
Okay, maybe that's the point we should focus in on. The market, I think, has assumed that we're going to at least see no further step up in tariffs, no further step up in kind of the aggravation back and forth.
That's right.
But again, that report in the New York Times, it's good to point that out.
Yep.
The rest of these things that are happening and continued violence picking up in Hong Kong, maybe we should figure out how the market would react if that ends up pushing any deal to the sidelines.
Yeah, and first, let me say that policymakers on both sides have done a very good job over the last 18 months of keeping these events outside the trade talks. But the pressure here is pretty significant. Think about where we are. We're at an all-time high on the S&P 500. We're at an all-time high in our China trade basket. Every time we've reached those levels over the last 18 months, stocks have fallen. The difference here, and I do believe stocks would fall, but the difference here is that both central banks, the U.S. and China, are just pumping massive liquidity into the system this time, unlike, say, in May when trade talks broke down. So there's a little bit of a cushion built into this system until the negotiators can find a way to get to some sort of resolution. But an abrupt change, because of what's been priced in already at this point, would be negative for stocks, all else being equal, Becky.
It's Walter Isaacson. Let me ask you a quick question. How much more liquidity can the Chinese central bank pump into the system, and how much signs of slowdown of the economy are you seeing?
That's a great question. You know, I wrote last week to my clients that I don't think they can do monetary policy because they have inflation. That's why they need a trade deal. They came around this morning and cut their short-term lending rate for the first time since 2015. So they're sending a message that they're going to do more monetary easing. But I don't think they have a lot to go in that respect until they get a U.S. deal, because as the U.S. ships those agriculture products into China, it will start to bring their inflation down, and then it will give them more cushion on the monetary policy side. So I actually think that this might be in tandem of a trade deal. Some people would argue this morning they're putting more cushion into their economy because they don't think there will be a U.S. trade deal. And we'll see how that plays out.
I'm going there tomorrow for the Bloomberg Economic Forum. So I'm leaving tomorrow for China. And they've actually just announced higher-level officials that are going to come to this Bloomberg Economic Forum in Beijing. Are they using that as a way to try to heal this, dealing with American business leaders?
There's no doubt that they want to at least get American businesses their side of the story. They've been very forthcoming in trying to brief American business leaders throughout this process. But at the same time, they're also going to try and put pressure on American business leaders to pressure the Trump administration to make a deal that may not be as beneficial to U.S. interest. Everybody's trying to get the best deal possible here, and they're going to put pressure on U.S. businesses to advocate for what they're trying to do.
Hey, Dan, want to thank you. Good to see you.
Great. Thank you, Becky.
Okay, it is time, we should say temporarily goodbye to Becky, not forever, but she's heading out to La La Land, to Los Angeles right now, to go to the CNBC Evolve Summit, which takes place tomorrow in Los Angeles, and she's got two huge interviews. We're all going to be waiting and watching it. Doug McMillon, she's going to be talking to, Walmart's CEO. So much to talk to him about, given the retail landscape, the earnings last week, and everything else taking place this week. And then Bobby Kotick as well, CEO of Activision Blizzard. So we are excited to see what she's got in store. And she's headed to the airport.
Now,
so safe travels.
Logging off right now. Walter, are you coming over here?
I doubt it. I'm lucky to be here.
No, he's good. We've got a thing.
We leave your seat vacant when you're gone.
You'll be back Wednesday or
I'll be back Wednesday morning.
On the air Wednesday morning. Okay.
Yep.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Stay away from the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, coming up, Ford Bets Electric.
Ask him in the break, Walter.
But don't stop talking about Bloomberg, would you? Jeez, you're at CNBC. We're going
to product.
How many times are you going to say that?
Competition.
Well, that's a stretch. Anyway, we're going to talk with the company's president of automotive after last night's big reveal of Mustang-inspired electric SUV. Stay tuned. You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC.
I've got to tell you about our beautiful city break in Bath. Midweek is the perfect time to beat the crowds. Just an hour and a half by train from London. It was so relaxing. We headed straight for Bath Christmas Market. Oh, I can still smell the roasted chestnuts and mulled wine from the chalets. Next, we donned our skates for Bath on Ice. I'm a natural. Didn't have to hold on to anything or anyone. There's so much to do in Bath. I'm already planning my next trip.
Discover the magic of Bath this Christmas. Plan ahead at visitbath.co.uk/Christmas.
1 in 10 Londoners surveyed said they'll give more to charity in the next 12 months. Are you one of them? At CAF, we help generous people like you support their favourite charities by making giving simple. And we provide charities with the tools they need to perform at their best. So together, we can make a bigger difference for our communities. We're a charity and a champion for better giving. We are CAF, and we make giving count. Visit cafonline.org to find out more.
Something explosive is coming to the home of rugby. When Harlequins meet Leicester Tigers, expect fireworks. With tickets from £17 children and £27 adults, Big Game 12 is more than a Gallagher Premiership rugby fixture. It's London's biggest rugby party. Enjoy music, entertainment and a truly incredible atmosphere before the big game kicks off at 4:30pm, Saturday 28th of December at Twickenham Stadium. Go to tickets.quins.co.uk or search Big Game 12.
Make their Christmas wishes come true. Whether they want to jet off on Barbie's dream plane, run with the storm in Fortnite, or glide along on My Lovely Llama. At littlewoods.com, you'll find all the toys they love, all with inclusive delivery and free returns. Own Christmas. Shop now at littlewoods.com.
It's hard to find a children's gift which doesn't have a short shelf life. They'll eat all the chocolates in 5 minutes, finish their video games by the end of the week, and grow out of their trainers before you know it. So instead of buying them something just for Christmas, buy them something that's for life. Premium bonds from NS&I. Every month they'll have the chance to win cash prizes. And now you can buy premium bonds for any child. Start their savings journey from just £25. Search Gift Premium Bonds to find out more.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. Take a look at futures. We are a little over an hour from the opening bell. Dow looks like it would open up about 54 points higher. S&P 500 up about 4.5 points, and we'll call the NASDAQ 19 points right now.
Let's go. Ford unveiling its electric SUV at the Los Angeles Auto Show. The Mustang Mach-E marks the beginning of a new generation of all-electric vehicles, and it's the first time...
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a pretty car.
It's a cool SUV. It's the first time the Mustang name has been used for an SUV, and I think that's a commentary on how serious the company is. Joining us, because you don't use a brand name like that lightly. Joe Hinrichs is Ford Automotive's president, and Joe, great to have you. Great to have you in studio. I think part of the seriousness of this is what Bill Ford said. We've pushed all our chips to the middle of the table. Because it's 2%, it's a small part of the market, but you're going in big by using the Mustang name.
It is today, but as the next 5 to 10 years evolve, you're going to see a lot more electrification taking place in the industry. Well, this vehicle starts under $44,000.
No, not the vehicle, but just to make this move, not knowing how many you're going to sell. It's still going to be a niche.
Over the next several years, it's going to be smaller volumes, to be sure, but we believe in the next 5 years, you're going to see significant improvement and increased volume in battery electric vehicles. And then by the end of the decade, actually, I think you're going to see a pretty substantial increase in the portfolio.
There are analysts that are actually making comments about competitors like Tesla, saying that they no longer are the only game in town. And they actually were, this analyst happened to be very negative on Tesla, saying that the shares could be way too high based on players like Ford getting into the marketplace. Does it compare to a Tesla, the way it feels, the acceleration and everything else?
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, battery electric vehicles have a similar feel because of the torque and the instant kind of power you get, and the great acceleration you get because you're right.
So that's similar.
That's similar. Actually, the GT version of this Mustang Mach-E will go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So it's a sports car. I mean, it's fabulous. I'm going to get a GT version myself, and I own a lot of sports cars because I know the enthusiasts will love it. But you know, we wanted to wait until it started to make economic sense to get into electrification in a big way, and you're starting to see that. We've announced an F-150 battery electric truck coming. Now you have a Mustang Mach-E. More to come after that.
When you say because it now makes economic sense, is that because the cost of batteries and everything else has come down? Is that because you think the market for these vehicles has grown in size? somewhere
It's
combination
really,
of the two? What
it's
is
all
it
the above. I mean, the charging network, we're now part of the largest charging network in the United States because that's a big deal to people. The cost of the batteries have come down.
Because that didn't exist before.
Right.
You think that was...
You know, we're used to having gas stations on the corners. We can find them. Now you have 12,000 plus charging locations across the U.S. that we're tapped into.
So there's a little bit of chicken egg here.
There is. Consumers are getting more and more accepting of it. The costs have come down, to be sure. And, you know, now that we have a lot more capability of the batteries, we can control them better and give a lot better performance to the customer.
Joe, let me change subjects slightly, but you and I were in the Detroit Auto Show 2 years ago together. We were talking, and we talked about Ford mobility, this notion of Ford doing something that's not quite sort of Uber and Lyft, but it's also not your normal transit system, something in between. What are y'all doing there now?
Walter, you're right. Thank you for joining us back in 2017. We're really working with cities to find those solutions that are broader than just, is it ride hailing or ride sharing, but, you know, can we redesign the transportation network, inclusive of all the technology available out there with connected vehicles, to make it more efficient? We all know how inefficient it is today, and provide new solutions, whether that's sharing, whether that's pooling, whether that's hailing. Autonomous vehicles are going to be a big part of that. But we need the infrastructure to be part of that solution, and Ford is working very closely with cities as a trusted partner to make that happen.
Do you see a future in which people don't own personal cars quite as much as they do, but Ford still does as well?
We do see that evolving. We certainly believe people are still going to buy their own vehicles for a number of years, but there will be more solutions available to people, like autonomous vehicles or ride-hailing, like you see in Manhattan. Those options will be more efficient. But remember, there's 90-some million vehicles sold in the world today, and the emerging markets are growing even faster. You know, India, Southeast Asia.
What would Blockbuster be for a couple of years from now for sales? What would be unbelievable for Ford, would you say?
Well, if you think about the next 5 years, it's pretty predictable. I mean, given the technology.
Not going to be that high.
No, I mean, the sales rates have been remarkably
you'll make money
high
on
in the
this?
US. We're contribution margin positive right from the get-go with this vehicle. We're going to make
because it's made in Mexico, which is also kind of a flashpoint.
Well, part of the reason why it's made in Mexico is a global vehicle. It's important to our European portfolio, and we can export from Mexico to Europe duty-free. That's a big part of this. But, you know, we make 80+% of our sales in the U.S. are made here in the U.S., so we're pretty proud of that. And our manufacturing plants in the U.S.
You expect to hear from, do you expect any mean tweets?
Well, you know, the White House knows this is part of our plan. Remember, as far as Ford goes, we produce more vehicles in the U.S. than anyone else. We employ more manufacturing workers than anybody else.
A lot of times those things don't matter.
We export more than anybody else. Well, the facts hopefully matter in this case.
Wow.
Because we are the most American auto company, and we're proud of that.
How many sort of design cues and things do you think you have taken, dare I ask, from Tesla? The reason I ask is you look at that big, almost iPad screen that's very Tesla, the grill in the middle without a grill, almost grill-less. I don't even know what you describe that as. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, because you don't need the air intake anymore.
Because you don't need the air intake. And maybe that's just a function of...
That's a function of that electric vehicle, really. But the design cues of this Mustang Mach-E are really from the Mustang. If you look at the tri-bar, lights and the tail lights in the back, you look at the front end, it's a Mustang, in its soul. But of course, battery electric vehicles do offer you more freedom in the design because of the nature of where the batteries are low and the center of gravity is low.
Now that you've put the Mustang name on an SUV, will you still be able to make Mustangs out of regular cars?
No question. This is not supplementing or replacing, it's not replacing the sport coupes, which, number one selling sports car.
Can you take it further, though? Does the Mustang brand now translate into other categories as well?
Well, the Mustang brand stands for fast, affordable, and fun. So we don't want to go far from there. From an SUV, a battery electric SUV, this is very affordable. Right. But so the fast and fun part's really important. So I don't think you're going to see a van Mustang anytime soon.
What about wants a minivan? She wants a minivan.
Well, we can give her other options in the SUV portfolio.
Number one, you got to talk to her, not just say, "Okay, honey." You got to try and talk some sense into her. But
happy wife
New Explorer.
is a happy
I know
life.
that. I know
New Explorer Hybrid is what she really could be great for.
Will there be a sports coupe EV Mustang?
Not in the near future, but probably someday. Not planned for anytime soon. We have the GT500, the 760 horsepower coming out this month, actually. But the sports coupe continues on. We did talk about making a hybrid version of the Mustang. But when we do that, we use the electricity to give more propulsion, more acceleration, to make the feel of the Mustang better, not to replace the kind of horsepower you need to make it a sports car.
I have a separate question for you on autonomous vehicles. For the past couple of years, we all talked about this sort of race towards autonomy. Everybody was talking about self-driving. It was all going to happen so fast. And you'd hear Elon Musk and others talk about it as if it was a 2020 reality.
Yeah.
And it feels like, at least in the last 12 months, the whole thing has slowed down to a crawl. What's happened? Where are we?
Well, reality has set in to a lot of people. We were more pragmatic right from the beginning, saying late 21 kind of time frame. This is a big challenge. It's a big technical challenge. We're on our path. It's going to happen someday, but we got to be, safety first for everybody, of course.
But when you just said 21, are we now 25? I mean, what is the realistic view of this?
I think you're talking 5 years to be a realistic, see it in volume, but you will see it in the next year or two, start to roll out in pilot geofenced areas.
Frightening. One person gets mowed down in a sidewalk, and how long do you recover for that? One person. And there can be zero. You need a Six Sigma. Remember GE?
No, I know.
You need one mistake and 8 million.
It feels like the whole enthusiasm and sort of just it's
because it come down to reality, I think.
The expectations for how this performs compared to human driver are very high. So it is a high threshold, to your point. So we're all taking it very carefully. I was driving an autonomous vehicle in Miami on Saturday morning. Yeah. And in Miami, that's a really tough environment. A lot of things going on. Yeah. The vehicles are performing very well, but it's going to take years to get this right. And then we have to make Congress has to actually pass laws to make this legal. And there's all kinds of legal considerations to think through. But it's coming. It's just going to take some time to get it right.
So, Joe, we have now buried the recession fear, supposedly. That's what the market's doing well about. One of the reasons we were a little bit worried was because peak auto sales, and we're trying to figure out, and is that going to be the next subprime because of all the auto loans? How's business? How's the industry right now?
The industry's held up very well this year. Pricing's been good. Volume's going to be over 17 million SAR again.
It will.
For a number of years, we've been predicting this peak auto. But the consumer's strong.
What's the average age?
Interest rates are obviously low.
How old are cars now? 10
They're
years?
now, over 10, 11 years old. So that's part of the issue. Replacement cycle. There's more people coming to driving age. But importantly, the great technology. There's a lot of reasons to buy a new vehicle today. The safety, the infotainment, the connectivity. There's a lot of new technology that's bringing customers in.
Tell me again, what does Mustang stand for? If you look it up in the dictionary.
Fast, affordable, and fun.
We need that for Squawk Box. We need 3 fast, actionable, well, something like that. Did you see how quickly he came out with that? Powerful, influential, and actionable.
How about insightful?
Insightful. We might need 4.
Trying to help.
We might need.
We're good marketing people at Ford. We can help you out.
By the way, is there anything deep in your data that you can look at that's a leading indicator for where the economy is going?
Yeah, certainly. We look at creditworthiness of our contracts, which are really strong with our Ford Credit business. We're not seeing a change really there. Length of terms of contracts, something to watch. But the replacement cycle, what's happening with people replacing vehicles and scrapping vehicles? It's still supportive of a pretty healthy auto industry. Again, the good time to buy dynamic of the consumer psyche is really important. So the market really is an important part of that too, as you all know. So there's a consumer psyche part of this, but gas prices are low, interest rates are low. There's great products out there being launched every year by everybody, and people are good employment. So they have a job, they have good income, so they feel like it's a good time to buy.
All right. Thanks. Don't bring the Pinto back.
That was fun.
Mustang Mach-E.
Okay,
I had to say one thing that you'd throw a wrench in the works for this commercial. Yeah,
you need to order one, Joe. It'd be
Leave
great.
That Pinto in the dustbin of history.
Explorers or mini. You guys don't do a minivan, do you?
No, but we have lots of great SUVs.
I told you that. SUV.
Explorer Hybrid, I'm telling you. 550-mile range on Explorer Hybrid.
Don't throw in the towel on life. Go get that.
My wife, you know what she really wants?
A vacuum cleaner.
A vacuum cleaner that's attached to the car, inside the car.
Yeah.
Our kids.
We had 3 kids.
And I'm down there with I go and get the dustbuster.
The staff is there.
I was in the car the other day doing the dustbuster on the floor because we had.
He was down there pointing over there. Oh, it's someone else. Down here. Get in there.
I was on
you over there.
We've got some great products for you and your wife. Most importantly, your wife.
Right.
We know that.
Happy life.
We know that.
29 years. I get it. It's all good.
Coming up when we return, futures pointed to a new record at the open after the Dow cracking 28,000 in just the last minute of trading on Friday. We'll give you your Monday morning markets straight ahead when we return.
Coming up, he sniffed out Warren Buffett's intervention in the Occidental Petroleum deal. Then he tipped us off Carl Icahn was pulling the strings behind Xerox and HP. Now he says there could be a major activist investor in Netflix. Find out who when Squawk Box returns.
Can you customize the S&P 500 to meet your...
Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can feel your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Batteries running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars. On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish me a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Don't forget yourself this Christmas. Get 90 gig of data for the price of 30 on the stunning Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Search O2 Christmas deals.
O2 refresh credit by Telefonica UK Limited. Contract eligibility and terms apply.
Hey there, if you've got a flawlessly powdered nose for a bargain, there's 15% off fragrance and premium beauty at Boots, including Clarins Double Serum, which was £78, now £66.30. So gift like you get them at the What to Buy Someone Worth Pushing the Boat Out for, but not too far boutique. Offer ends 17th of November at selected stores and 18th of November at Boots.com.
Welcome back to Squawk Box this morning. Take a look at futures. We are now about an hour before the opening bell, and things have actually turned negative on us here. Dow looks like it would open down about 13 points,
That's
12
weird.
points. NASDAQ down about 7 points, and S&P down about 4 points. We talked about how we had crossed the 28,000 level.
You just checked them, and we were all green.
We were all green right before we went to break. Yeah. And we should take a quick. We're gonna dig into what's happened here.
I think it's got to be some China something or other.
We're trying to figure it out.
Asia closed higher,
and it's getting worse, by the way, as we speak.
Well, what are we doing wrong?
Well, we're going to keep our.
Becky's gone. That didn't help.
Becky left a whole.
Separately, we got some news on WeWork, reportedly planning a massive round of layoffs in a bid to become financially stable. This, according to the New York Times, company could announce 4,000 job cuts as early as this week. Time says that number could actually eventually jump to 6,000. WeWork declined to comment when contacted by CNBC. We had anticipated that these job losses would take place. 4,000 was the number we had heard about. Originally, 6,000 would be a lot more. And of course, coming right before the holidays and lots of questions about the future of this company.
All right, coming up, early indications of a big-time activist investor in Netflix. We've got the guy who's been making these calls, so that's next. Don't go anywhere. Squawk Box will be back in just a moment.
Every day, paying no mind to tones or advances. Take my chances on.
I believe ETFs are
cold Monday afternoons like this are cruel. You cough, you splutter, so does your car. Its battery dead, killed by an icy claw. Will anyone stand up to winter? Yes, you. Come to Halfords. We fit new batteries on the spot from just £15, and we're open late 7 days a week. See halfords.com for opening hours. Here in Wandsworth. Ready for the cold snap? Ready for anything. Halfords, for life's journeys.
Batteries sold separately. Selected vehicles only in most stores.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
3 is a magic number. 300 schemes to help bugs and bees, supporting environmental needs. 8,000 grants for local sports, and performing arts get our support. 7 millionaires every week, the nation's on a winning streak. 30 million pounds to good causes every week. Who'd have thought it? These are magic numbers.
Your numbers make amazing happen. 25 years of the National Lottery.
Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over. Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, laptop, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback, anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Looking for a great phone to take brilliant photos? Like an incredible iPhone 7 with a dual lens camera? Then look no further than Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. You'll find an iPhone 7 for just $14.49 a month. Our lowest ever price. Be quick, this deal ends Sunday, 1st of December. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion. Was £19.75, now £14.49. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, various policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Hey there, if you've got a flawlessly powdered nose for a bargain, there's 15% off fragrance and premium beauty at Boots, including Clarins Double Serum, which was £78, now £66.30. So gift like you get them at the What to Buy Someone Worth Pushing the Boat Out for, but not too far boutique. Offer ends 17th of November at selected stores and 18th of November at Boots.com.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. Take a look at the futures right now. They have turned on us, and they've turned into the red. I want to explain maybe a little bit what's going on. If we can show you where the futures stand right now. Dow off about 17 points, NASDAQ off about 7 points, S&P 500 off about 4 points, and we think that Eunice Yoon may have...
she did earlier at 6 o'clock. She told us this, but she tweeted it out, and maybe it's getting picked up more now, but the mood in Beijing about a trade deal is pessimistic due to President Trump's reluctance to roll back tariffs. Some of this was around last week, too, which China believed the U.S. had agreed to, a government source told CNBC's Eunice Yoon, but that didn't happen in the last 10 minutes. That was she told us that at 6 a.m. Of course, not everyone's awake. They should be, but maybe they're not all. And we were talking about up 50 or 60 to down 16. So on a percentage basis, it's not that much. But we move around. Doesn't take much about China to move us off.
Do you think we're reacting to every China tweet?
I don't know. Is 0.3% overreacting?
Well, not this, but I just meant over the.
Don't you think? Yeah,
me too.
And I also worry that we sort of are set up for if it really did break down. I think there'd be more.
It's not going to break down. It feels like a reality TV show. You know that
as we're getting closer. You know it's less than a year, right? All right. New this morning, FedEx CEO Fred Smith is firing back at the New York Times over an article about the company's tax bill. The paper published an article yesterday on FedEx's taxes. The Times reported that between 2017 and 2018, FedEx managed to cut its tax bill from $1.5 billion to zero, as its effective tax rate dropped from 34% to less than zero. Financial filings show FedEx paid $2 billion in federal income taxes over the previous decade. The Times says this all came after FedEx and its CEO, Fred Smith, in particular, lobbied hard for the Trump administration's tax cuts. The tax cuts were designed to encourage capital investment by companies, but the Times says FedEx spent less on that in 2018 than in 2017, passing most of the savings on to shareholders through buybacks and dividends. In a statement last night, Smith calls the report distorted and factually incorrect and challenges the publisher and business editor of the Times to a public debate. The Times has yet to respond to Smith's challenge.
Interesting that I just will mention, they didn't say that there was anything specific in the article that was wrong. And I think that the larger issue is about whether these tax cuts have actually spurred capital investment. And what you saw from the article was not just FedEx, but the larger point being that companies that had wanted these tax cuts and had got the tax cuts then didn't spend on capital.
You ran into a trade war and a slowing global economy.
100%.
Okay, so you can't look at anything in a vacuum.
Right, but what we were talking about the 6 o'clock hour, no CEO went to Washington and said, please, please, please lower taxes, because if you lower my taxes, I'm going to do more stock buybacks. Nobody was doing that. Separately, we should tell you, because this just crossed the wires, T-Mobile's CEO, John Legere, will stay on as CEO through April of next year. Legere, he will be succeeded by Mike Silver.
They even spelled it out for you that time.
On May 1st, Sievert is the current president and chief operating officer at T-Mobile. Of course, Legere's name had been floated briefly for this WeWork job, which I think confused a lot of folks, but this may explain at least why his name was in the running, or at least being floated at that time. Meanwhile, I have to say, give this man a lot of credit, because he really did make T-Mobile work at a time when people didn't think he could.
He became a brand face for it. I mean, even on social media, just the way he dresses, the way he acts.
But so interesting.
Gave it a little hipness.
Gave it hipness, did the deal with Sprint, if the deal goes through. And I think I would have imagined that shareholders would have wanted him in that role to...
So why is he stepping?
But that's the question to me. I mean, I would have thought, if you're going to buy this big company and have to do this massive integration, which has to take place, isn't this the guy you want running it, or do you want his number 2? I mean, to me, that's a fundamental question.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's going to run for president.
Maybe he's going to run for president, him and Mayor Bloomberg. We will see. Meantime, the unconventional research from our next guest led him to break some news on a couple of huge recent deals by studying flight patterns. He gets his hands on some of those tail numbers. He recognized Warren Buffett's role in the Anadarko-Occidental deal, and then by combing through 13F filings, he rang the alarm on Carl Icahn's involvement in the recent Xerox HP drama. He's back now with another bomb to drop. This time it is, I don't know if it's a bomb, but we'll see, on Netflix. Joining us right now is John Bilson. He is the head of events driven research at Gordon Haskett. What do you know?
This is what I know. Well, we snuffed out Icahn by reading Nomura's Q2 13F. And Nomura was the largest buyer of HP during Q2. We figured that it was putting an activist into a swap position that would come out at some point. That evidently happened last week with Carl Icahn. So 13Fs for Q3 were due out Thursday. And if you look at the filing from Nomura, we obviously went there because that's where we were riding a hot hand.
Right.
But you look at Nomura's filings, you have a huge new position in AT&T. That very well could be Elliott at AT&T. There's a big new position at Emerson. That could be D. Shaw at Emerson, which is now an active position. There was the big HP position, which we now know as Carl. There was an Allergan position, which is involved in a deal. But then at the top of the list is Netflix. And somebody wanted to put on a position during Q3 when the stock was getting beat up. It was $260, $270 stock. Somebody put on a position that they didn't want anybody to know about. And that's what we think Nomura did. And we have our suspicions on who it might be.
Okay. Do you think it's because the stock was underpriced, or do you think it's because they want to change the direction of Netflix?
I don't think that it is an active position where somebody's going to go in there and start beating up Reed Hastings. That would be a complete folly. I believe he's one of the most bulletproof CEOs out there. Great company.
So what are we supposed to take away from this?
I think what you take away from it is that an Icahn or an Ackman is going to stamp this company with his approval.
Why do you think it's Ackman or Icahn?
I think it's Ackman because it fits a pattern that he's been doing, which he buys great companies now. He doesn't buy turnarounds. He buys Nike, he buys Starbucks, he buys Hilton.
Learned his lesson.
He buys Berkshire. He buys blue chips, best in breed. That's Netflix. It's just a little beat up right now, and it's got some competitive issues it's going through. But Netflix is a great company.
Right.
And Nike's a great company. And I think that the pattern fits. And Ackman has said on his Q3 call for Pershing Holdings that he was building a new position. It's between 8 and 9% of his AUM. That kind of fits what the size would be at Netflix. And he said he wants to top it off opportunistically. It's possible, and I just want to kind of tap the brakes, that Nomura kind of let the cat out of the bag on Thursday.
What's the chance that it's not either of these guys? Right or no?
It's not likely too many people other than these two. A Third Point was in the stock in Q2 and sold it in Q3. It doesn't make sense that they would reload in a swap. I just think that the most likely candidates would be Icon, who's been there before and made $1 billion here, and
but you don't think that, but whoever this is, you don't think this is somebody who's going to agitate for change?
I don't. I just think that that's kind of beating your head against the wall. I mean, you might make some suggestions to dial back on the content budget and, take it down from 15 to 8, 9, $10 billion and really turn this into a cash flow engine. That's about as much as you could do. Could you recommend that, they start talking to Apple? I don't know.
Have you been following? Do you have the tail numbers for Mr. Ackman and Mr. Icahn?
We do not.
Okay. So. I just didn't know if there was any trips to California.
No, we don't have that, or vice versa.
Okay, Don, thank you for coming in. We'll keep our eyes on this one.
All right, coming up, the next market milestone. Where do you position your money in a season of record highs? A top market strategist will join us after the break. Stay tuned.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You'll get interviews, original content, and behind-the-scenes access. Look for us on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. And subscribe to Squawk Pod today.
I've got to tell you about our beautiful city break in Bath. Midweek is the perfect time to beat the crowds. Just an hour and a half by train from London. It was so relaxing. We headed straight for Bath Christmas Market. Oh, I can still smell the roasted chestnuts and mulled wine from the chalets. We dropped off our Christmas shopping at the hotel. Then it was off to be spellbound at the Theatre Royal Bath. There's so much to do in Bath. I'm already planning my next trip.
Discover the magic of Bath this Christmas. Plan ahead at visitbath.co.uk/Christmas.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Batteries running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
If you're planning on driving this weekend, expect delays on the A406 North Circular Road. There'll be road closures between Edmonton and Tottenham from 10 p.m. on Friday the 15th of November to 5 a.m. on Monday the 18th of November, while we carry out essential maintenance and repairs. All roads in the surrounding area will be extremely busy, so please allow more time for your journey and expect delays in the area. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
The world is a noisy place, but whether I'm here or here, my phone calls are always loud and clear on my Doro 6620. Hi, love. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. I'm 10 minutes away. Get your Doro 6620 from Amazon, Tesco, and O2 today.
Less than an hour out of the opening bell on Wall Street, Dominic Chu joins us now, returns to join us. Some of the morning's biggest stock movers. Hi, Dom.
I got 3 additional ones from the last hour. Let's kick things off, Joe, with shares of Sherwin-Williams, which are lower by around 1% or so on relatively thin pre-market trading. The maker of paints and coatings gets a downgrade by analysts at Goldman Sachs to a neutral from a prior buy. They're also taking it off their conviction list. It's a valuation call after a huge run-up in the stock and the risks to the company's multiple given an anticipated slowdown in earnings growth and profit margin expansion. So those shares kind of ones to watch here. Next up are shares of Workday, which are down by around 2.5% on roughly 4,000 shares of pre-market volume. The provider of cloud-based workplace human resources and finance applications gets downgraded by analysts at Morgan Stanley to equal weight from a prior overweight. The target price goes down to 180. It was 219. They cited, among other things, slowing momentum in their human capital or HCM business and a more difficult corporate spending environment. And then we're going to end on shares of Five Below, which are up by about 1% or so, roughly 1,000 shares pre-market volume. The discount retailer gets positive analyst commentary from JP Morgan analysts who now have an overweight rating and just put the stock on their focus list. They say have better valuations given the recent pullback in the stock and expectations that management will reiterate fourth quarter sales and profit forecasts. They say pullbacks in those shares, Andrew, are buying opportunities. Back over to you.
Hey, Dom, thank you for that. Meanwhile, the Dow breaking 28,000 in the last minute of trading on Friday afternoon. Mike Tantoli joins us. Look now at the journey to the milestone number and what may happen next.
Yes, Andrew, we could build a story around this run to 28,000 and then what might come after. Take a look at the Dow against a few companion indexes, the Dow Transports, the Industrials, and the S&P 500. The Dow here is in white. You see this very orderly, kind of nice breakout, pretty clear breakout from to a new all-time high. Now, what's interesting is what's rolling over, which is the utilities. They've been the leadership group. It's been a defensive market up until the last couple of months. They're kind of coming back. Transports, I guess you would probably say, just barely nudging above the upper end of a range. They've been kind of held in check by the trade war. In the blue is the S&P. Why is the S&P outperforming? Well, the Dow Industrials are more industrials, double the industrial weight of the S&P, not as defensive, not as much tech. But if you want to take a look here at the 4 stocks within the Dow that have done the best over the last year, it is actually not the industrials, as you might expect. So it's tech, Microsoft, Apple, Home Depot, Procter & Gamble, not really the core industrial stocks. The hope here, guys, is this pivot towards cyclical stocks outperforming might actually kind of refresh the market, and maybe the Dow has a little bit of a tailwind if that continues as global growth firms up, guys.
Mike, does the year-to-date look any different?
It does. The year-to-date for the Dow and the Dow Transports and Industrials is actually they're much closer. Now the
trend got killed in December.
Exactly. They're very close actually on the year-to-date. So I brought this to kind of capture what the longer-term trend is. But you're right that essentially there was a big comeback by the transports after that.
I just want to get rid of that month completely. Just let it fall off. It's
going to make the one-year returns look really good in about a month.
I know, I'm talking to him. Insisting I look at the camera, that I can't talk to you while I can't talk to him, Mac, while I'm
going to go to the table.
Come on over here.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
I mean, this TV stuff, you know what I mean? It's like every move you make, you have to...
I'm trying to...
Look how beautiful the set looks today.
It does. Look at it over there.
The new set.
Sorry, Mac.
Yeah.
God, I happened to look at you for a second talking. Mike, come join us on the set. Oh, you're here. Sorry. Let's also bring in another voice into the conversation. J.J. Kinahan, Chief Market Strategist at TD Ameritrade. Transportation average in that recession scare, that really got hurt. And I don't know, it kind of skews all these numbers. What do you make of where we are? And what's more appropriate, the year-to-date or the 12-month?
I would say that probably year-to-date, Joe, and although, they'll obviously be the same here shortly, so it really won't matter so much. But, it is kind of interesting looking at this rally with us just going to this record in the Dow last week. And I look at a lot of the retail, our clients' behavior. And what's interesting to me, Joe, is they've been kind of conservative over the last few months, which is one of the, I think we may continue. It's not some froth that people are dying to get into. Our clients have been pretty much flat in terms of their buying and selling of equities over the last couple of months. And what they are doing, which is interesting to me, is a lot of really shorter-term interest rate plays. Almost 75% of the interest-bearing transactions that have taken place with us have actually been 6 months or less. So I think one of the things you're seeing is people waiting for the sell-off. And often when people wait for the sell-off, we continue to rally and rally and rally. And the other interesting thing is you spent a lot of time on tariffs this morning. And one of the stocks that actually our clients have been continuing to sell as it goes higher has been Apple. And I think that that's the way that tariff fears are being played out. It's still the number one held stock at our firm, but as the market continues to go higher, Apple continues to get higher. Every time there's bad news on tariffs, we see people come in to sell some of their Apple position. So just a couple of interesting things that are going on sort of underneath the surface.
Mike, I don't feel like the sell side really embraced this for the past 6 months. I really don't.
No, I think that's fair. They have not. The formal positioning targets have not come around. But I think this happens in phases. And so I think if you look at sort of the faster money trading community that says, look, we have a clear bottom in August. We've broken out to new highs. If you look at things like options traders, all the sort of short-term tactical stuff, it looks like it's getting a little ahead of itself and maybe sentiment's a little bit stretched. But slower money in terms of the sell side and retail, and even really, I think, traditional fund managers don't feel like they own enough stock right now because of the way the market has behaved.
I saw this morning some death crosses combining with some other thing that showed 28,000 that were like ready to. And then I saw the guy who is on the commercials always talking about silver at some bucket shop company. I won't mention, but and he said something, and he's been pushing silver for. The same commercial's been on for 5 years about how silver is going to do something. It's you know which ones I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it hadn't gone anywhere while the market.
Right. No, I mean, look, you definitely can quibble with some of the rhythm of what's going on below the surface of the market. You know, you had some poor breath last week. You have a lot more new lows on the NASDAQ than you would expect for a NASDAQ and new highs. But again, you can always find fault with something, and I think it kind of contributes.
So is this a blow-off Kinahan or not? Is this a blow-off top?
I don't think so. I don't think so, Joe, only because of one reason, and that is I think this week you're going to see the market get a lot of support because we have retail earnings coming out. We know the consumer's been, ridiculously healthy, and so there's no reason. You even had JD come out last week and talk about the secondary cities in China was responsible for their really good quarter. I find it hard to believe we're going to go into a week with so many retail earnings and not have many of these companies beat and actually set a good, forward-looking picture for the beginning of next year. When you have the employment rates where we have, you have people out spending money. We're seeing evidence of it in every single number. And, we kick it off. You guys just got done talking about Home Depot a minute ago here. Yeah. We kick it off at Home Depot tomorrow. And are they going to reinforce everything we're seeing in the housing market? And then we just go through the week with Target, Kohl's, et cetera. I find it hard to believe we don't get some support from those numbers, barring some bad news if it comes out on tariffs.
All right. Okay. Thanks, JJ. Mike, S&P's 3120.
Yeah.
What's the top?
Tell me when. If
I
don't think it's 3120.
What do you think would get really? Where would you say? Oh my God, this is just really extended.
I think
33, 34.
If you're up 34, so 10%
from here,
March of next year. That's going to feel like you're way ahead of yourself.
You were shaking your head a little on the earnings report things. Besides the consumer,
retail.
Yeah, besides consumer retail,
what else? The retail that the consumer.